Hey everybody, it's Carl. Welcome to Carl's Opinion. Good seeing you here tonight, and got a lot to get to, and we'll be getting to it. So hey, so you see the headline there: Nikki Haley blasts Democrats' silence on ICE, and yeah, she was pretty upset about what they did to the flag, and she was mainly big thing she was upset about that no Democrats, none of them even on the campaign trail came out against it and said, hey man, you can't be doing that shit. Nobody. The only person who came out against it was the governor of Colorado, and of course he had to say something. And his answer was, "Well, of course I'm for against desecrating the flag. Who wouldn't it be?" Well, I mean, that's not a real powerful condemnation of it. It's like, well, yeah, I'm against it, of course. Who wouldn't be? So, it's that's what she was upset about. And but everybody else was silent. I mean, these guys are on the campaign trail. They could have said plenty about it. They could have held press conferences about it, saying, "Hey, we're not into violence. We're not into destruction of property. We're not into these kind of armed protests." Tim Pool covered it pretty good this morning on a video I was watching of his this morning, saying, all this rhetoric about concentration camps, and we got to liberate these people by any means necessary. We have to use force. People talking about civil war and all that stuff. He goes, Tim Pool was like, okay, where does that end? Where does it end? And then you saw up in Tacoma, Washington, the guy who shot decided to brought a rifle to a ICE detention facility in Tacoma, Washington, and he threw some fire bombs at some cars, and there was a propane tank there, and he set a car on fire, and local law enforcement had to dispatch him, had to take him out and shoot him. It's just that kind of nonsense. You get that kind of rhetoric. Hey Jervis, hey Common Sense, hey Effie, hey the Great Dirtbag, how you guys doing? And see who else on there. I saw Shond up there earlier as well, and I think I saw Mo up there earlier. But how you guys doing? And if I missed anybody, I'm so sorry. But yeah, see you guys in there. So yeah, so I mean, but you're right. Nothing about upset about the fire flag, but nothing about the firebombing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it really didn't get a lot of coverage. In fact, let me see if I can. I'm pretty sure I grabbed that story today. Let me see if I can grab the story about the firebombing. We'll jump over to that. Let's see if I have it here. I should have had it. Hold on. Yeah, there's the story right there. And you see, yeah, armed man killed by police after throwing incendiary devices at ICE facility. And let's just talk about that real quick, and you'll go from there. But let's take a look. Hey, Zakachai's cane sword. Zato Zetoich's cane sword. Guy burned a whole car down. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, Molotov cocktails. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of thought to do it. Basically you fill up a bottle, whether a Coke bottle, a beer bottle, a whiskey bottle, with gasoline. You tie a little. Well, shit. I guess I should be describing how to do this. So no, I won't be describing how to do that. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't take a lot of creativity to do one of those things. But anyway, let's go and get to the story here. And it is a live call-in show tonight, and I'll cover this story, and then everybody wants to call in and talk about these things. That'll be fine. All right, armed man killed by police after throwing incendiary devices at ICE facility. Tacoma police shot and killed an armed man after he threw Molotov cocktails at an immigration. There we go. Get that out of there. After he threw. Where is it? All right. After he threw Molotov cocktails at an immigration customs enforcement facility Saturday. Willem von Spronson, 69, appeared outside of the Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma, Washington, early in the morning carrying a rifle and incendiary devices, according to the Seattle Times. According to Tim Pool's story on it, he was part of something called the Jim Brown something freedom, whatever, guns, Jim Brown guns or whatever, using guns for radical change. And Tim Pool was like saying, hey, a lot of these leftists are, they're telling people get armed to, liberate people, get armed to, fight the man, get armed to fight the government, stuff like that. And like Tim's, hey, Fred, how you doing down there? Good seeing you. Hey, Matthew, good seeing you there. But he needs to pick a side. Those who sit on the fence end up help on those on the wrong side. He doesn't need to turn Republican, but needs to check his tribalism. Matt, I tell you, every time I watch his show, you can see he's struggling with it. And he's even said it on his show. When you watch him, he says, we're kind of a lost group of people, like the moderate left. Like we don't. They say we're not Democrats anymore. And he goes, I've never been a Republican. And you can see he's. I'll tell you right now, Matt. I really don't care. Like if he doesn't say I'm a Republican, like he did what H.A. Goodman does, as long as he keeps running these stories like this, because Matt. You've seen him. He's running some really great criticisms of the left. I mean, he used to always criticize the right and the left. and it was like 50-50, but now it's more like 80-20, like 80% criticism of the left and 20% on the right. So he's running those stories, and he's writing them, and he's putting them on his YouTube channel as someone on the left. So he comes with a lot of credibility on the subject. So I don't care if he never registered as Republican. I'm not sure if he'd actually pull the lever for Trump when he gets in the voting booth. But I can see him not pulling the lever for any of the people that are on stage right now. That I can see. And who knows, when he gets in that voting booth, he might just say, fuck it, and just just pull the lever for Trump. You never can tell. So as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, he's you can tell him, and he's like, hey, this isn't my party anymore. What happened? It was like it just vanished on him. Remember Ronald Reagan, right? They said the big thing in the debate with Walter Mondale was that Reagan had not switched his party affiliation from Democrat to Republican till after the 1960 election. So Mondale said, "Well, I supported John F. Kennedy. He supported Richard Nixon. No, he supported yeah, he said he supported the first time he changed his party affiliation. He voted for Richard Nixon. Well, Reagan came out and said, he goes, look, he goes, in 1952, I supported Dwight David Eisenhower. He goes, but I was a Democrat my whole life, and I just really had a hard time going in and re-registering as a Republican. That was Ronald Reagan. So he said, he goes, no, actually, I voted for and supported Dwight David Eisenhower, but I didn't change my party affiliation until 1960. So it appeared to Mondale, oh, he didn't switch party affiliation until Richard Nixon ran. Of course, Richard Nixon was like, didn't have the same name Dwight David Eisenhower had. So Reagan said, no, look, it took me 8 years to change my party affiliation because I'd been a lifelong Democrat. And he kind of had he's kind of going through the same thing Tim is going through. He's the same exact thing, saying, hey, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. They left me. And you see a lot of people on the left saying the same thing. Hey, I've always been on the left. In fact, he shows the graphs and everything. I've always been to the left of center. But now, after 2012, the party just took a left turn, like on a 45-degree angle. When you look at the graph he shows, it's like zoom. It's like they just went like right out there fast. And he goes, I've never, because a lot of leftists will accuse him of being red pilled. In fact, he got called an alt right, a right winger when he went to that meeting, the summit at the White House. Oh, you're a right winger, you're alt right. And Tim's like, what the hell are you talking about? I've never been all right, never been a right winger. So he's basically saying, look, you can see it. He can't say the Reagan line yet. He can't say, okay. He can't say, you know, the Democratic Party, I didn't leave the Democratic Party, they left me, because he's not leaving the Democratic Party. And, we don't want necessarily somebody to like leave a party because their party goes into a wrong direction for a few minutes. We kind of went in the wrong direction in 1996 when we nominated Bob Dole instead of Pat Buchanan. And yeah, I was one of those conservatives. I'll raise my hand. I'll say it. I was one of the conservatives. I'm one of those guys. We stayed at home in 1996. Yep, we did. That's what we did. And Bill Clinton won re-election in '96 as opposed to Bob Dole. We had to send a message to the party that, hey, we're the conservatives. Don't forget about us. Don't leave us out. Pat Buchanan should have won the nomination in '96, but the Republican establishment just totally smeared it. They smeared him. They went after him big time. It wasn't so much the people on the left going attacking him. It was the people in the establishment Republicans that went after him. And that's why he didn't get the nomination. So we said, oh yeah, fuck you. Oh, you don't need us? Oh, you don't need our votes? Oh, okay. Tell you what, take a look what's about to happen to you guys when we stay home. And we didn't vote for Bill Clinton. We couldn't do that, and we weren't going to. Okay, but we stayed home, and Bill Clinton got reelected, and that sent a message to the Republican Party. Oh shit, you guys kind of matter. So Tim's not there yet. I don't see him staying home on election day because he's pretty civic minded. He's going to go out and vote. But I don't know. Maybe when he gets in that voting booth, and they close those curtains as they used to do, they don't really anymore. Who knows? If he pushes that button for Trump. But I can't see him going for any of the people on the left right now. They're not talking to him. He says they're not talking to the American people, and he's right. And they're not even talking to him. And he's like he said, when Obama ran for re-election in 2012 and ran for election in 2008, he was to the left of Obama. And now that's not left enough. Now it's like way out there. So that's okay. So if he can If he can keep doing what he's doing, he's kind of using his shows almost as like a cathartic kind of event for him, where he's just kind of talking through these. So yeah, but no, and I don't agree on everything he does. But then again, I don't agree with everything anybody does, except for myself. And of course, I'm always right. You know, but but no, but you can't agree with everything everybody does or says. But I like his approach, so that's good. But anyway, let's continue on with this one. So Willem von Spronson, 69, appeared outside of the Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma, Washington, early in the morning, carrying a rifle and incendiary devices, according to the Seattle Times. Police say von Spronson lit flammable objects on fire and hurled them at the building and cars. One car caught fire. He also aimed to hit a propane tank, but was unsuccessful. An ICE official called the police after seeing the rifle. Police reported shots fired, but it was unclear who fired first or if von Spronson fired at all. But he was killed. ICE said in a statement to Fox News that no employees were harmed nor involved in this tragic incident. He was throwing these items at the building in an effort to set it on fire. It didn't work. It's a concrete building. And go figure. Officer Loretta Cool with the Tacoma Police Department told KOMO News. Last year, Van Spronson was arrested for assaulting a police officer during a chaotic protest at the facility. Deb Bartley, a friend of Van Spronson, told the Seattle Times he was ready to end it. I think this was a suicide. But then he was able to kind of do it in a way that spoke to his political beliefs. Yeah, insurrection. A fucking idiot. Okay? Again, lazy. That's what I was saying. Lazy. Okay? We have this great thing called the Republic. Look, we either believe in our Constitution. All these people say, oh, we're constitutionalists. We're constitutionalists. Well, the Constitution tells you how to get shit done. And guess what? Your side is not always going to win. Newsflash. Hey, it happens. You don't believe me? Watch every 8 years. The only time is only a couple of times that happens. Jimmy Carter, right? 1976, he didn't win re-election. Okay, and George H.W. Bush won for election after Ronald Reagan's 2 terms. So, that's just, there you go. But other than that, it's generally every 8 years it kind of goes back and forth. And your side is sometimes going to be on the side that's out of power in the White House for 8 years, or maybe even out of power in the Senate or the House. Hey, that's the way it works. We're a republic. We have a lot of democratic, ideas and ideals and institutions, and sometimes, your side's not always going to be the winning side. That just means you got to fight that much harder. Look, in 2016, the Democrats got destroyed. They were supposed to take the House and the Senate, and Hillary was supposed to win the White House. I mean, think about that for a second. And they didn't take the House, they didn't take the Senate, and they lost. They lost to President Trump, pretty much. A non-politician and who spent only half the money she did. I mean, think about how devastated they must have been. Now they could have just all gone into a shell, like a lot of those people yelling and screaming, right? And there's a grief period. And you get all pissed. You can stay pissed for a few minutes, but for a few minutes. But then they came out swinging. They said, okay, we're pissed, and how are we going to focus this energy? They focused it into the 2018 midterms, and boy, did they ever focus it. And meanwhile, we're, our side, not the people on this site, I hope, nobody on this side, I hope, our people on the side, well, I just voted in 2016. Why do I have to go out and vote again in 2018? Stupid. Again, if we had the same numbers voting in 2018 that voted for Trump in 2016, we would have kept the House, and we would not have to do all these stupid Jerry Nadler and Adam Schiff investigations and all this other bullshit. But so be it. So that's the lesson. When you're in a republic, in a democracy, you got to get out and vote. Not just vote. These people went out and knocked on doors. Like Steve Bannon was at Oxford doing one of those interviews. Really good interview. It was like for 2 hours. Really nice interview. And took questions from the audience and stuff. And he was saying, hey, look, hats off to what the Democrats did in 2018. They did what we did in 2016. They got out there. They knocked on doors. They got people to the polls. Now they did some illegal shit, too. But that doesn't win big elections like that. What wins is knocking on the doors, sending out the emails, calling their friends, getting on social media, being very strategic, and how they were targeting people, and it worked. And they worked harder than we did in 2018. That is for sure. Trump is only one guy, and where he went out to the big Senate races in Tennessee and Georgia, Florida, Missouri, he was successful, and he helped keep the Senate. But again, he's only one guy. Where were the rest of us? Going to a rally is nice, but did everybody in that rally go out and vote? I hope so. If they didn't, stay home next time. Let me have your seat. I've been to 2 rallies, and I also vote. You can do both. Trust me. They're generally on different days. It's okay. You can make plans, you know? Well, Matt, that blue wave did kind of happen. So it was 2018. We lost the house. We lost it by pretty big numbers. So we did, Matt, and it's our fault. Okay, it's our fault. Okay, they worked harder than we did. Okay, you work harder. We were in 2016. We worked harder than they did. They got a little complacent. They thought they had it in the bag. Remember, 99%, 90% chance Hillary Clinton was going to win the general. I'm telling you, some of their people stayed home thinking, "Oh, we got this." I guarantee you. I guarantee you. Oh, we got this. I mean, shit, But now, you know, but and then in 2018, some of us, not hopefully nobody on this channel. If you did, don't admit to it, please, or you get the zombie. Trust me, I'll put the zombie out. I'll do it. I'll put the zombie out. I'll show you. So if you didn't vote in 2018 and you're on this channel, that's what you get. You get the zombie. Okay. So that's a zombie. So make sure everybody votes. Okay. So anyway, but yeah, see, the zombie there. All right. So anyway, we gotta work harder in 2020. We can't be complacent and not just go out to vote. I mean, dirtbag was saying it. He was saying it. What he did, gave some rides to people to get them to the polls. People who didn't have a ride. Somebody who may be older or maybe their car's not working so good, or they don't have good transportation or whatever the deal is. Somebody like that, and you say, hey, can I get you? You need a ride to go vote. If you got early voting, make sure you know about that. Make sure everybody is registered in plenty of time. Make sure they don't go, oh shit, I forgot to register. If you know anybody, you shouldn't be anybody around your inner circle that one isn't registered, and two, you cannot somehow get to the polls if they can't get to them themselves. Make it a party. Like we have early voting in Nevada. If you don't vote in Nevada, you're a complete moron. We have 2 full weeks of early voting, and it's great hours. They even do it on the weekends. On the weekends, early voting on the weekends, mind you. So there's no excuse. Like I usually go this like 2 weeks, right? I usually go the second week, like on a Wednesday afternoon. Okay, because I don't have to vote a lot of people want to vote the first day. Why? I don't know, but nonetheless, they do. Great. Hey, I'm happy to go out and vote. But they wait on long lines. I'm like, well, why am I going to wait on this long line when I can just go like the second week on a Wednesday afternoon around 3 o'clock, and there ain't gonna be nobody there. And guess what? I walk in, literally. There's no. I mean, I'm talking the general election too. I'm talking in 2016. I mean, literally, I went in 2016. This is a general election. Nye County, 80% voted for Donald Trump, where I live, Nye County, Nevada. So, I mean, a lot of people voted, and it was big numbers. But, I mean, still, I went in a general election. I went in early voting Wednesday, about 3 o'clock. There was nobody in front of me. Okay. There was one lady behind me. I walked in. I said, hi. I walked up. I signed my name. They didn't need to see my ID because the zombie looks like Tom Steyer. Yeah, you know what? That is true. That is true. The zombie does look like Tom Steyer. Yes, that's true. But yeah, I walked in, signed my name, my signature matched up with my previous signature, so they didn't need to see my ID. The only time in Nevada they have to check ID is if your signature doesn't match up, then they'll ask to look at your ID. But it's real cool. So anyways, I walked in, bang, do. Literally 5 minutes, 5 minutes from when I hit the entrance, I was walking out the exit. So again, in the state and then like in Clark County, they have voting places set up at malls. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a liberal Democrat, and he was down there with his wife, and they were shopping. They had planned to go on a different day to go vote, but they were there shopping. They looked over, they saw a voting station in the mall they were at, and they noticed there was like nobody there, and they're like, "Oh shit, let's go right now." And, so, and they're like, "Yeah, okay." Boom, they had their little bags with them of whatever they were buying. And they walked right over, and boom, 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 and he goes, "Yeah, the same." He had the same story. 5 minutes out, later, he was done. So anyway, there's no reason not to vote. There's no reason not to get your friends out to vote. You got people on social media, talk to them. Again, there's no reason why anybody in your family or inner circle should not be going to the polls. Get them there. Make it happen. So anyway, last year, Von Bronson was arrested for assaulting a police officer during a chaotic protest at the facility. For a chaotic protest at the facility. Deb Bartley, a friend of Vance Bronson, told the Seattle Times he was ready to end it. I think this was a suicide, but then he was able to do it, and okay, I already said he was an idiot. All right. The attack at an ICE facility came a day after protests at an Aurora, Colorado ICE facility removed the American flag and replaced it with Mexican one. ICE is expected to carry out mass raids in major cities across the country on Sunday. And so supposedly, let's see here. ICE reportedly begins its raids, mass deportation raids. So, Mike Bress with the Washington Examiner. Nationwide raids targeting illegal immigrants who have missed a court appearance or have been ordered by a court to be removed from the country began Sunday, according to CNN. The raids, which are being conducted by the Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency, are being conducted in cities throughout the country. They are targeting approximately 2,000 people whom courts have ordered to be removed from the country. It starts on Sunday, and they're going to take people out. They're going to bring them back to their countries, or they're going to take criminals out, put them in prison, or put them in prison in the countries they came from. President Trump said outside the White House on Friday. Yeah, it's funny what Trump did with those tweets. Everybody's all worried about the deportations and stuff. He puts these tweets out. Well, actually, I kind of think he did that, and I put that uh, in the description where I said I think he did this tweet today to help out Pelosi. This is the second time I think he's actually helped her out. I think she's gone to him and said, "Hey, I need you to help me out. Can you say something racist or apparent or that appears to be racist today? Then I can unify. Everybody can get unified behind me, and I can show that I'm the leader." Because remember when she asked him a couple of weeks ago to hold off on the raids, he said okay, and then he put it off for a couple of weeks, and then she still tweeted something nasty out. But he knew that. And then today he does this tweet, and he's backing up Pelosi, but he does it in such a way that she gets to come out. One, she gets backed up, but two, she gets to come out and say Trump's an idiot. And he'll probably do it again. My phone just shut down. Very strange. Well, there you go. The deep state is working out the great dirtbag. They just shut his phone down. Do 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 do. I'll have to cover DB's one-liner duty while he calls in. My phone just shut down. Oh no. But anyway, so the raids supposed to be carried out in Atlanta, Baltimore, Chicago, Denver, Houston, L.A., Miami, New York, San Francisco. ICE was also expected to carry out raids in New Orleans, but that has been postponed as a result of Tropical Storm Barry. In the days leading up to the raids, multiple Democratic members of Congress shared statements trying to help those who are fearful of being deported. Pelosi urged her party to spread the Know Your Rights campaign during a closed-door whips meeting, according to Politico. An ICE deportation warrant is not the same as a search warrant. That is the only document ICE brings to a home raid. Agents do not have the legal right to enter your home. If ICE agents don't have a warrant signed by a judge, a person may refuse to open the door and let them in. Okay, tell you what, instead of getting them at their house, go to where they work. Okay, is that better for you? That'll do it. Yeah, why don't you go where they're working and actually grab them from their place of employment? They have a pretty good idea where these people work. Do it that way. It's like when we serve somebody. We try to serve them at home versus at work. We weren't just doing a regular legal serve, for a civil complaint or even a divorce complaint. We always try to do it where they don't have to get humiliated. So okay, fine. They won't open the door, or do it on a holiday or something. Do it like on a middle of I don't know, like when they're coming home or something. I don't know anything. Democratic Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York and Ilhan Omar of Minnesota also tried to spread information about people's rights. The story is breaking. Will be updated. Ta-da! Breaking news. Well, this was from this morning, actually, but it was breaking news. All right. And let's see here. One story I wanted to cover. Let me get back to her. Let's see. So let's read the Nikki Haley blast Democrats silence. TYVM. Thank you. Just watch. No. And let's see. Nikki Haley blast Democrat silence on ICE. Let me grab a cigarette. Hold on. Oh no, they got Common Sense's phone also. All the phones are going down. Da da da. Watch out. Okay. Lock and load. Be careful. Look out. I don't know. Are people having a problem with their phones today? Might be some kind of phone thing. I don't think it's a phone YouTube thing. Well, your phone. I mean, common sense. Did your phone actually go out, or did the YouTube host cut you off, or something like that? I'm kind of curious. I count out 0 possibilities when it comes to tech weirdness. Yes, Effie would know. There we go. All right, Nikki Haley blasts Democrat silence on ICE flag incident. Denver. And again, live call-in show, phone number 775-273-8970. Or if you want to appear on a live video call, you can appear by vMix video call. And because Google Hangouts is actually going bye-bye, they say, come August 1st. They say it's supposed to come back, but it's still going bye-bye. So, I know OBS does it. Does video calls. I'm pretty sure Ecamm does them as well, and I know vMix obviously does it because I have it, and we have the ability to do video calls. Although nobody wants to do a video call. It's like why do I get nice things? Why do I have nice things if nobody wants to take advantage of the video call and appear side by side in a video call, live video? I don't know, but anyway, it's like why do I have nice things? I don't know. The YouTube zone, do. Fred. Let's see. Okay, so Denver, former ambassador Nikki Haley joined Sunday the chorus of outrage over the Democratic Party's near silence over the protesters who ripped down the American flag and replaced it with a Mexican flag. And who replaced it with the Mexican flag at the Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in Aurora, Colorado. Ms. Haley, who called the display disgusting, urged national Democrats to condemn the protests. Hold on, let me get this up here. There we go. Who called the display disgusting, urged national Democrats to condemn the protests, which occurred during Lights for Liberty nationwide rallies against the Trump administration's immigration policies. There are no words. Let's see what's going on. Okay. All right. Let's see. There are no words for why the Democrats are staying silent on this. Ms. Haley tweeted, if this is the way to winning an election, fire your strategists. If this is your way to winning an election, fire. I said that Friday night when we first covered this story. And I said, yeah, I mean, like, hey, take down rip down the American flag, write a bunch of shit on it, put up the Mexican flag in its place, or above the American flag, rather. I go, that's a great way to win an election. I go, that's a great way to win the general election. That's really going to get you somewhere. And then, of course, these idiots, they had 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, to come out and denounce it. I mean, loudly. They could have come out loudly and denounced it. I mean, real loud, too. And said, hey, you can't be doing this kind of shit. We don't abide by this kind of stuff in our country. This is a republic. I'm running for an elected office. I need you to vote for me. We don't go around tearing down flags. We don't engage in violence. We don't go out and try to firebomb ICE facilities in Tacoma. They could have really gone out there and said all that shit. Like what? If Harris said that, what, the left's going to turn on her? If Warren said that, the left was going to turn on her? Sanders? Really? The left was going to say, oh, well, we can't support you now? Yeah, right. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? Going to go nowhere, that's where. Steyer could have came out and said something about it and said, hey, man, this ain't right. You can't be doing that kind of shit. No, none of them. They all stay silent. They all want that Democratic nomination. But, again, these are going to be great TV commercials come general election time, or right during the convention. Here's what happened on Friday when they took down the flag. Here's what the candidates, or actually at the time would be the Democratic nominee, said about it. And they'll show like her or him standing there with a bunch of crickets around. Cricket, cricket, cricket. Said nothing. Nothing. This is who you want to be president. Okay. Let's see. Let's see here. This is disgusting. Love your country. And if you don't like what is happening, then tell the members of Congress to get to work and fix it. Or go out and vote. Hey, how about that? The only top Democrats who condemned publicly the flag switch as of Sunday was Colorado Governor Jared Polis, who tweeted that, of course I condemn the desecration of our flag. Who wouldn't? Boy, that's a real big condemnation. Now you will condemn the ongoing and even more serious offense to our flag and values. Now, of course, and then look how he does it. Instead of just using this as a separate incident, yeah, okay. So he takes it. He goes, of course I condemn the desecration of our flag. Who wouldn't? Then, of course, he has to tie it into this nonsense. Now, will you condemn the ongoing, even more serious offense to our flag and values while putting children in cages and tearing families apart? So he's saying, oh, it's of course I condemn it, but I understand why they did it. Okay, another idiot. Okay, wait till they show up at his house and start, doing something to his house. I'm sure he'll have a different opinion about it. The protest saw activists cross the barrier at the ICE building, take down 3 flags, and replace them with the Mexican flag, a spray-painted USA thin blue line flag and a flag that said "F the cops," according to Aurora Police. Aurora Police declined to intervene. I love this, citing the need to protect the safety of officers and the large majority of who were acting peacefully. Oh, okay. Well, if a large majority were acting peacefully, why not get in there and say, "Hey guys, I know you guys are acting peacefully. Excuse us. We're going to go get those clowns over there. Tearing down the flag off the flagpoles." And if there's such peaceful people that were there at the protest, they would have let the cops go by, right? No, they wouldn't have. They would have stopped them, and then they would have been forced. Then they would have been outnumbered, and that's the truth of it. If the Aurora cops said, "Oh, it's just those five guys over there," and the other, 2,000 people aren't going to harm us. They would have walked right and said, "Excuse us," and "Oh yeah, go ahead, go get those freaks over there taking down the flag." No, but all those people over there cheering them on, holding up, and they were all holding up signs saying, we're not Nazis, blah blah blah. So no, they were the same freaks. All of them were part of this. I'm sure they were all cheering when that flag was taken down. I'm sure, and the Mexican flag was put up. They were all cheering. Of course they were. That's why the Aurora police didn't want to get involved. And of course, they're a bunch of leftists probably anyway. Beyond the removal, attempted destruction of the U.S. flag, replacement of the flags, and some signs of poles being put on the main doors and windows, the protesters did not engage in behavior that warranted immediate intervention, said Aurora Chief of Police Nick Metz. Okay, so beyond removal and attempted destruction of the U.S. flag, well, they did destroy the U.S. flag by defacing it with spray paint. That flag is gone. You can't put that back up. That's destruction of the flag. And some signs and poles being put on the main doors and windows. They didn't engage in any behavior that warranted immediate intervention. Yeah, what a fucking loser. That guy. Yes, idiot. Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel blasted those desecrating the American flag, replacing it with Mexico's, calling it an absolute disgrace, and every 2020 Democrat needs to condemn it. Yep. Representative Ken Buck, chairman of the Colorado GOP, said that condemning the hostile raising of a foreign flag over a law enforcement facility should not be controversial. I agree. Every single Democrat, including those running for president, should immediately denounce this deeply anti-American act, he said. The Mexican flag was removed and the American flag restored by police late Friday, but no arrests were made. No arrests. Nobody gets arrested. So, even though they're sitting in a safe place and they can see these guys, they got them on video. They don't watch them leaving. They don't go out and make an arrest. No, because they knew the crowd would turn on them. Everybody in the crowd. No arrests. Just that's okay. Cristina Solana Cordova of the Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition, which helped organize the rally, slammed the activists that pulled the flag stunt for hijacking the event's message. Well, then how come you didn't go over there and stop them? You could have said, "Hey, I'm in charge of this. I'm a leftist." Let's see. How do you win elections? I know you're saying. Yeah, anytime that one of those messages get hidden, just let me make the call on whether or not to clear it or not. So let me just take a look here real quick, okay? Yep, that'll work. Up, no, shit. God damn it. Sorry, Elizabeth. Fuck. Hold on, let me see. Common sense. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. All right. Common sense is last message. It was one of those show hide things, and it was good. I liked it, and I'll just read it to you. How do you win an election in this country when all you're saying how you hate this country, how bad it is? What the f kind of logic is that? Free S blank 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 for illegals, free healthcare, free education, free housing. So sorry, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, common sense. I hit the wrong button, but I just read out your thing, and I don't know. I can't restore it. Let me see. Nope, there's no way to restore it once I hit the wrong button. But anyway, that was a good message. But yeah, mods. Anytime you see a show hide opportunity on a comment, just let me clear it. Let me see if it's okay, and I'll clear it or what. Well, as long as I don't screw it up. But like I just did. But anyway, common sense. That was a good comment. But it got caught by the YouTube algorithms. But yeah, it's as long as I clear it, we're good to go. So good message. Sorry, guys. Like no, don't need. There's only two choices. I hit the wrong one. Are the phone lines are open? In fact, yes, they are. Yes, the phone lines are open. Is the phone line's open? Yeah, Fred, it's one of those show hide things, and then Fred, I accidentally hit the wrong button, but I did read out her comment, but it was a good comment. It was a good comment too. I mean, and I like what you did, common sense. As far as you didn't leave the curse words on there either. So I don't know why they picked it up, but probably because you had the word illegal in there. But I'm fine with that. I mean, that's what they are. I mean, we heard I did a Mark Dice. I showed Mark Dice's video montage that he ran. I think up. We got a phone call. Hey, Mr. Dirtbag, how you doing?
What's up, Carl? Hey, Carl. I'll tell you what. Next time you go live, I will do a video call with you. All right. Like when you go on and like when I call in, what I'll do is I'll send you an email and I'll do like a video VMix call.
Oh, cool.
With you.
Yeah.
But I'm not set up for it tonight. But yeah, but no, definitely. Because I call in a lot. And I'm like, and because I don't want to like take up so much of your show. And, do you know what I'm saying? So the least I can do if I call a lot, I can at least appear side by side with you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but But I'll tell you what. I was reading. You know what's funny, Carl? Last week when we were talking about like just I'm not to harp on the subject, but we were talking about like civil wars for lazy people, and it's funny because it got me thinking last night. And you're right. So like whenever I make a comment, I try not to mention civil war, like civil war is brewing. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get away from that. You know what I'm saying? And I think I've been pretty good because sometimes in videos I'll put like civil wars, yada yada. But no, you're right.
Well, no,
Because
no. I
the
think I
minute
think
the
did you
minute we
watch? Well, no, hold on. Did you watch Tim Pool's his videos this morning that he ran? Tim Pool.
um I haven't had a chance to watch them
Actually, they were really
today.
good. They were really good. I'll tell you why they were good because he was talking about. See, the left has got a bunch of. Hold on, let me get on here. Let me get on the screen. Let's see, hold on. Because the left was saying like Sean King and the guys in the left, and he was mad because Twitter's allowing them to stay on with what they're saying, and they
Hmm.
were saying stuff like, oh, we gotta liberate these children from these concentration camps by any means necessary, and then
Hmm.
he's and stuff like that, and then a lot of people saying, yeah, we have to use force and stuff like that, and we have to pretty much bring get guns, bring arms to these federal facilities. So what Tim was saying is, he goes, look,
Hmm.
man, I warned everybody about that. What do you think that's going to lead? He goes, that leads to insurrection, that leads to civil
Yeah.
war, that leads to death and destruction. Because we can't be doing that. And then sure enough, this story comes out. And he goes, hate to tell
No.
everybody I told you so, but there you go. Again,
Yeah.
this old man is not well. He's not that old. I mean, shit. I'm 50. I'm going to be 54 here, coming up pretty quick. And this guy was only like
Hmm.
67. I mean, that's not old. He was just lazy.
Yeah.
And like I said, sometimes in
Hmm.
elections, your side wins. I mean, look, if you're not happy, wait around 8 years. But I mean, but you don't have to even wait around because you get the
Hmm.
Congress and the Senate. They can, like, remember Barack won in 2008, but remember we flipped the Senate back in 2010. So
Yeah.
you can do shit like that. You can make changes pretty
Hmm.
quick. So I mean,
Hmm.
actually we only had to wait 2 years. I mean, that wasn't very long. I mean, that wasn't a long time.
Hmm.
I mean, 2 years ago, shit. 2 years ago was 2017. I
Hmm.
remember that like it was yesterday. So
Hmm.
these guys get lazy and
Yeah.
they try to feel important, like you're going to do something, be somebody like this. He's going to go out in a blaze of glory. Well, he went out, but I'm not
Hmm.
sure how much glory it was. So no, I agree. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's just lazy and stupid. Look, we again we either believe in the Constitution, we either believe in the founding fathers, or we don't.
Hmm.
And if you say,
Yeah.
well, the founding
That's.
fathers were fucked up, they got it wrong, and then everybody talks to, I think it's I want to say the 16th Amendment where it changed how we elect senators, right? Because that was supposed to be a big check on the
Hmm.
House. But you remember something? It took two
Yeah.
thirds of the people in the Senate to vote in favor of that. So two-thirds of the people in the Senate voted
Yeah.
in favor of getting away from how they were actually put into office, how they got elected. So it must have been a really fucked up system. Because I mean, two out
Yeah.
of every three senators voted say, yeah, even though I got elected by the state legislature voting for me, I think that's fucked up. Because they were
Hmm.
too
Yeah.
beholden to special interests. I mean, because what the special interests would
Hmm.
do, they wouldn't bribe, and probably they didn't get any money out of it too. The special interests wouldn't necessarily bribe the senators; they would bribe the state legislators. And then they would bribe the
Yeah.
state legislators to pick the guy they wanted to win, and they didn't like that. So no, no, there's look, we live in a
Hmm.
great country, 230 years, and again, you're either in favor, like what the founding fathers did, you like the Constitution they wrote, or you don't. And if you don't like it, love it. In my opinion, is love it or leave it. Get the fuck out. Go live in China or North
Mhm.
Korea. Go see how well that works out for you. Go live in England where you don't have First Amendment
Yeah.
rights. Go try that one out.
Yeah.
Or even a Second Amendment
Yeah.
right. Go do that.
Yeah.
No, this is the best
Yeah. Like
place.
George Clooney.
This is the best
Mhm.
place
Yeah.
ever in the history of the world.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just amazing. These old
Yeah.
guys in
Yeah.
wigs somehow put all this together and made it work. I mean, just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back and you study this, and if you do just a little bit of studying on the founding fathers, and you see how all these people from different backgrounds all came together and somehow put together this country. It's truly
Mhm.
amazing. I mean, just 1 inch the wrong way,
Mhm.
either way, it would have been a disaster, and they somehow got it figured
Yeah.
out. So,
You know what's interesting? If you go back now, correct me on some of this if I am wrong, but
okay, you're wrong.
when you go, oh, oh, I might be, but but I'm pretty sure that my history of it is fairly accurate. Fairly, not 100, but fairly. But back in the 30s, when we were coming, like when World War II started, and we were coming out of the Depression, and what was it? How was it? Um, was it Calvin Coolidge who started the? I think it was Calvin Coolidge. And God, my history's so bad. But anyway, when they were coming up with these new legislation, these new bills to get us out of the depression, like when they came up with Social Security to help move the older generation, so to make to let the older generation have something that they can retire on their nest egg, and then make room for the younger generation, to get the jobs that the old generation used to have. It seemed like they were trying to be very careful not to go too much into socialism, and they were just creating these social safety nets, for the some of these social safety nets that they were putting into place, to try and help, um, younger people find jobs and help get the older people, because most of the older people, unless they were in the military, they didn't get a pension before they did the Social Security Act. But it seems like now, I mean, but then you've had all these politicians and all these special interest groups that have twisted and turned and convinced, well, we got to take Social Security out of, I mean, it's like they're using Social Security for stuff that it wasn't meant for, you know, but every year they keep saying, well, it's going to go bankrupt, yada, yada, but they always seem to find some way to keep Social Security afloat. I mean, I don't, it's funny because I'm not even relying on it. I mean, if it's there when I get ready to retire, great. If not, you know, I don't, I can't, I got to worry about taking care of myself and have a backup plan, just in case that there is no Social Security. You know
well,
what I
no,
mean?
no. I mean, look.
And
Too many old people vote. Okay, okay. So when I
mm,
say old people, I mean people who will be old enough to receive Social Security. Like right now, you and I are not old enough to receive Social Security. But when we're 62 or
yeah,
65, trust me, we're like in the biggest voting demographic there is. Our age, we vote more than anybody, right?
hmm
So, are you kidding
yeah,
me? What do you mean there
hmm
won't be a Social Security check waiting for us? Are you insane? Are you insane? Who doesn't want to get elected? Okay, just raise your hand and say, "Sorry, folks, you're not getting,"
hmm
because we are the voting bloc. I mean, let me tell you something. That'll
hmm
cross all party lines. That'll cross all ethnic
hmm
lines, all whatever lines. You name
hmm
it. I don't care. You will have guys who are now like in Antifa, like kids and like guys way on the far evangelicals standing side by side when they're like 62. One guy with his
hmm
old Antifa hat on, another the evangelical with his Bible in his hand. They'll be looking at each other, and go, "Hey man, how you doing? All right, what are we here for? To screw that freaking senator over who's going
yeah,
to take away our Social Security." There's no way, man. Everybody says, "Oh, we'll go bankrupt." Yeah, again, who wants to
hmm
lose that election? Pick anybody.
yeah, that's true.
No, it's always
Yeah,
going to be it, oh, Medicare, always going to be there. Social Security,
hmm
always going to be there. Medicaid, different story. Medicare, Social Security, sorry, man, nobody is taking those people out. The largest,
hmm
biggest, strongest lobby in D.C. is AARP.
hmm
Second place is way far below them. Everybody talks about APAC and stuff. No, AARP is the strongest, biggest, most powerful lobby in D.C. They have the most money, they have the most members,
hmm
and let me tell you something. And they are loud, they are vocal,
that,
and the best thing about
hmm
AARP is their members historically vote. If you're a kid in your 20s, you don't vote. Maybe in your 30s, you don't vote. When you're in your
hmm
60s, for some reason,
hmm
you vote a lot. So no,
but
don't
they're
worry
pretty
about no,
conservative,
no.
I think, right?
Well, no, it's not. It's well,
AARP?
no, it's conservative my ass. They're they're in favor of raising raising the amount so people get paid for Social Security, raising the amount of Medicare. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No, they look. AARP is about its members. Period.
Mm-hmm.
American Association of Retired Persons. Whatever what
Mm-hmm.
benefits their members. And again, it doesn't have to be conservative or liberal. It's just like when you're older, what benefits you. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. I mean, whether they stand
Mm-hmm.
for a certain conservative policy or something, I don't know. They're probably against like foreign wars because that takes less money. That takes more money
Mm-hmm.
away from Social Security, Medicare. But no, they
Mm-hmm.
protect their members and their interests better than anybody. No, man, don't every
Mm-hmm.
time anytime somebody say I just start laughing. I was like, yeah, like what election are you talking about? Like I'm running for president, and when I
Yeah.
get into office, I'm just going to 86 your Social Security, and all the guys in Congress. Yeah, I'm running for senator. I'm going to 86 your Social Security. Yeah, okay. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The funny thing though is that, because so far they haven't talked about. I mean, they're talking about. I mean, obviously they're talking about giving health care and Medicare for illegals, but I'm surprised that these Democrats haven't been running on. I mean, they've been. Some of them have been running on $1,000 a month income for people, but to the extent of my knowledge, I don't think that they've trickled that over to illegals. At least not yet.
Well, that's
Where
next.
they
That's
want to
that.
give like
You know what? I think you just gave a good CNN question for the next debate. It's like so the $1,000 a month in
mhm,
your favor of giving that to illegals. Oh my God! I hope that who's that stupid kid on stage? Oh, Yang was saying that. So Yang should say, well,
yeah.
we should all be in
Mhm.
favor of giving this $1,000 to illegals. Oh my God! We'll see if anybody decides that's a bridge too far and says, you know what, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
That'll be
The funny
funny.
thing, Carl, is oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, it is definitely. I had an interesting conversation today with somebody earlier, and what was interesting was one of the people that I've talked to before, and what was funny was one of his well, according to him, one of his
Wait, according to
friends
who? Wait,
had
according to
gotten
who?
laid off of it.
Wait, hold on.
No, it's according to this guy that I talked to.
Oh, okay, okay,
Um,
okay.
yeah, no, I just privacy issues. I don't mention his name, but he was telling me about a friend of his that had gotten a job in a like it's a typical mom and pop restaurant, and apparently they raised the I don't know if it was one I don't know if it was because of the $15 minimum wage or because maybe they just because of something living expenses. I don't know. I don't really follow what goes on in California, but um, he was like, dude, you were right. The company that my friend worked for, they were just going to find a way to innovate and innovate and cut back on costs. And I'm like, yeah, what do you think that
We
that's
talked
what they do?
you and I talked about that one night. We said, look, we know there's these big warehouses out in the middle of
Yeah,
nowhere where they have these where McDonald's and Burger King and everybody else has all these different like mock restaurants, and they got AI going on in
yeah,
there, and they're seeing how it can work from start to finish, like receiving vendor orders,
yeah,
stocking the pantry, to flipping the burgers, making the fries, to taking change and all that. And I guarantee there's a whole bunch of robots
yeah,
in one of these several of these mock restaurants right now, and they're just waiting for it to become cost effective, where like the price of the robots go
mm-hmm,
down and the price of human labor goes
mm-hmm,
up, and then with human labor you factor in shit like calling in sick, not showing up drunk or high, low productivity, that kind of shit,
yeah,
having to leave early, all that kind of crap that goes along with human beings, screwing up orders, having to give
yeah,
refunds, when it hits
mm-hmm,
that tipping point where it's almost there, where it's pretty close to being cost effective,
mm-hmm,
because you're raising the minimum wage and the cost of AI goes down, yeah, those a lot of those human beings are not going to be working in McDonald's or waitresses or bartenders or whatever. It's just think that's it. Those days are going
yeah,
to be gone.
yeah. And the funny thing is that these progressives can't see this. They don't think about the possibility of losing their job
I don't know
because of
why.
$15 minimum
I,
wage.
I don't know why Mark Cuban's been ringing that. Mark Cuban ain't no right wing guy. He's a leftist, and he's been ringing the bell on this
Mm-hmm.
thing for a couple of years. He's saying, hey, look, this AI is
Well,
coming in.
mm-hmm,
He should know. I'm sure he's looking at it for like his own team with his vendors and the snack booths and all the stuff like
mm-hmm,
that. How we can get rid of these labor costs,
mm-hmm,
and then you don't have to deal with like
mm-hmm,
unions or again you don't have to deal with people being bitchy, moany and shit. You got a fucking robot. He's going to take your change. He's always going
yeah,
to get it right. He's never going to screw up an order. I mean, it's just, everything can be
mm-hmm,
done right all the time.
But see, this was all part of, but a lot of this is part of the plan to turn our country into a third world status, because, they get a bunch of people, young people to advocate and push, vote for senators and congressmen and women that will literally push businesses to raise the minimum wage $15 an hour. And it basically that creates the ripple effect to, force businesses to bring in AI and to also bring in, machines to take orders like everything you were saying. And that's one of the ways that they're turning our country into a crop hole, excuse the way I say it. But that was always kind of on their agenda, which is one of the many things that they've been doing. And then on top of that, obviously, them flooding our country with people from South America, and these progressives need to wake up to this. They need to wake up to the fact that, hey, look, people who are pushing minimum wage to $15 an hour does not have the best interest, because all this stuff is calculated.
Right.
When they say $15 an hour, they had it pre-calculated to, well, look, it's going to take so long for, this company to do this and that company to do that. They've done the math already. They know how quickly it will cause people to lose their jobs. They have it, not an accurate, but they have a rough guesstimation as to how quickly it will destroy people's jobs and livelihoods.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole goal has been to decimate the middle class. And that's what they've been doing. That's what they want to do. Like I said before many times, you get progressive candidates elected, like Andrew Gillum, Stacey Abrams. You get people like that elected, and what they do is they start implementing policies. They start
Hey,
closing,
hey, wait,
locking up
hold
regulations.
on, hold on. Whatever you just did, your
Mhm.
phone sounds so much better now. Did you like?
Oh, it
I
does?
don't. Yeah, yeah. Whatever you just did,
Oh,
your audio on your phone sounds so much clearer. Like your voice is much better. It's much crisper. Whatever. I
oh,
don't. I mean, literally, like three,
oh,
four
okay.
seconds ago. Like, well, 5 seconds from
hmm
before when I first started saying it. So I don't know what you did. I don't know what button
hmm
you hit, but your voice sounds like 10 times better, and I am not shitting you.
Oh, oh, okay, okay. Yeah, no, my phone, like I said, it was just weird how it shut off on me when I was trying to. But I'm not. I can't say, I mean, who knows? Maybe but but thing, yeah, but the funny thing, they have these candidates, obviously, and they get, like, say Gillum gets elected, right? What does he do? He starts putting a lock and key on regulations on a state level. Then he starts raising the corporate tax to 40, 50%, causing businesses to leave Florida. Then it trickles down to the mom and pop. Then they
Yeah.
go out of business, and the middle class has to pick up the tab. And these progressives, they don't have the wisdom to see how all of this stuff affects their day-to-day lives.
No, like
You
I
know,
said, all you gotta do is like read
I
a
was,
book. All you do. I don't know. I don't see.
yeah.
Here's a problem though. Like all those professors who teaching economics and stuff in these universities now. Again, we talked about this before. 40, 50 years ago, these guys, the Weather Underground, Bill Ayers, all his friends said, okay, we're going to do it. We can do it a little bit different. It can take a little bit longer. Now these. If you think about it, they're kind of
hmm
working again within our democracy. They're saying, okay, generational change is what we're looking for. We want something that's long lasting. They said, okay, we'll go into academia, and they did. And
hmm
now, and then when these young kids get in, they're 18 years old, they don't know anything, and they look up, they see the professor sounds, like he knows what he's talking about, and they start teaching them these things like,
Yeah.
oh, this is how it could work, and they find, and the kids come out of school saying, hey, yeah, we could just do it this way, and if we tax people more, like in the 1950s, everybody was taxed high and everything was going good, we can do that again. And of course, they forget to leave
hmm
out the fact that it was right after World War II. These kids probably don't even know what World War II was, and we were the only game in town, and we
hmm
were the only people selling stuff. And there wasn't a lot of places where rich people in this country could invest their money. There wasn't a lot of offshore
Yeah.
opportunities. There wasn't any competition for their money, so they
hmm
had to leave it here, pay the high taxes, they were stuck. But when those opportunities started coming
Yep.
around, they started saying, well, fuck this, and they started sending the money to Japan, into Europe,
hmm
and to South America, and now to China, and so now if you want to
hmm
compete for that money, you got to do what Trump did. You got to lower the corporate tax rate because Europe, again, it always cracks me up. Progressive, they never talk about this, but Europe has like one of the lowest corporate tax rates in the world. They're at 15%. I think we got ours down to 19 or 20. They couldn't go all the way because
hmm
it would have required a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate to pass it. But still, they got it down to the point where America or foreign investors were like, well, that's pretty close. and you're deregulating a lot of
Mhm.
things. They have a lot of regulations in Europe. So when you look at the balance sheets with the higher regulations in Europe and the lower regulations in the U.S. and a few extra points on the tax rate, it's still worth it to do business inside the United
Mhm.
States. But I mean, so when these
Yeah.
professors teach you stupid kids this shit, they leave out the fact about World War II in the 50s. There was no other game in town except America, and if you wanted to build something, you had to build it
Mhm.
here. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's funny about you know what's funny about Jeff Bezos, right? And like when you look at Amazon and how they open up shops, and from what I understand, they open up shops in like mostly red conservative states because the taxes are generally going to be lower there, right? And when Amazon comes in, it's a good thing, because creates jobs, and I'm willing to bet Jeff Bezos is a closet conservative. He may not be. I don't know, and that's just a guess.
You
But
can always wonder. You
he
always
may
wonder,
be a
like,
closet.
well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you this. Remember in Seattle when the Seattle City Council passed
I
an
read
order, a
about
law.
that. Hmm.
I covered that when it happened, and another, I think, I can't remember who else was covering, but anyway, the city council wanted to pass an ordinance to pay for the homeless. So they're going to put a $500 per
Hmm.
head per year tax on businesses of over 10,000 employees or whatever it was, 5,000 employees. Well, that was
Hmm.
Amazon. They got like 20,000 employees, right? So they're going to make it
Yeah.
500, and they negotiated down to, I think it was like 300 and something dollars per head, and they passed it. And it was
Yeah.
over the protest of Amazon.
Hmm.
Well, Bezos, Mr. Leftist, Mr. Liberal, Mr. Let's Help the Homeless, he through his
Hmm.
people told Seattle, if we have to pay this, we will leave. And that new building we're building right
Yeah.
now, we will stop construction on it. I don't care what I have to turn it into.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just level it. I'm the richest man in the world. I'll just pay to have the damn thing leveled. I'll make it into nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take all my employees. I'm going to
Hmm.
pay for them to move. And trust me, there are literally 50 cities out there that will take us in 2 seconds. And he's right. Literally, they all bid for him. And then
Yeah.
Seattle came back and they actually undid the law that was going to tax him like $300 per head per employee. Yeah, that was so. Even though,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a leftist, but he's also a businessman, and that was going to affect his bottom line.
Yeah.
He said, "No, we're not going." And he knew that if he allowed that to happen in Seattle, then the next city, the next city, the next city, and he just said, "No, we will leave and
Yeah.
take all these people, and we will take all these people with us. I'll pay for them to move, and they
Yeah.
trust me. I'll give them a job when the next city we go to. I don't care. Goodbye." And they.
Yeah.
They zapped the law right off.
Well,
So yeah,
mhm.
so I don't.
You know
I
what?
mean, look, I think he's a leftist, but he's
Hmm.
probably but he's a businessman. I mean, you don't create Amazon if you're not a businessman. Sorry, I mean,
Hmm.
oh, I could have done that. No, you
He's a
didn't.
leftist. Mhm.
Go
He's
ahead.
a leftist that seems to favor capitalism more than
Well, he
well, I mean,
obviously
he's a leftist that likes the benefits of capitalism.
I don't think he's a big fan of socialism. Again, he could have let that city council thing go through and have been like, yeah, that's socialism. Hey, you know what? I'm rich. I can afford it.
Hmm.
That's okay. Like what he did, like when they made him, they were bitching about the fact that he doesn't pay $15 an hour, and that a lot of Americans have to go on public assistance to make up the difference, like Medicaid or whatever,
Hmm.
to make up the difference because they're getting paid so
Hmm.
so low. So he goes, okay, I'll raise it up $15 an hour. But then he took away all the bonuses, he took away overtime, he took away
Yeah,
all that shit. He goes, hey, look, if
dividends.
all you want to be
Yeah.
equal, then fine, you're all going to be equal, and nobody's going to get these bonuses and these other things and other benefits you give out for people who
Yeah.
like work really really hard. And I'm sure the people are like, well, shit, that sucks. Well, no, didn't you want
Yeah.
that? It's like, the lazy people, yeah, they wanted it. The hardworking people were probably pretty pissed off. He had like all kinds of stock option plans for them and stuff. Getting stock in Amazon. Imagine if you were like one of the first employees, you got some stock option plan in Amazon. I think right now
Oh yeah.
what's it trading at right now? Like $800 a share. You got a bunch of stock options when it was
Yeah.
trading like at $20 a share or something. You're freaking rich
Oh yeah.
now.
Yeah.
You know.
Especially if the stock splits. Like, let's say if Amazon pays out dividends, right? I don't know if they do, but if they did pay out dividends,
Oh, I'm
right?
sure they do. Of course they
To
do.
the
Yeah.
to the hmm? Oh, they
Yeah,
do.
I'm
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Well, if they don't pay
But
out dividends, nobody's.
let's say
If you don't- if no, if they're not paying out
mhm,
dividends, nobody's going to buy their stock. That's the whole point of having stock. You get a return on your
yeah,
investment. Yeah, you don't just get a
but if
return when you
but if
sell it.
mhm. But if they split, let's say if they split that stock, well, then in a couple of years it'll be, and Amazon keeps growing, and they split it, the stock is going to be worth double or triple.
Well, yeah,
And
I don't see.
but
Yeah,
that's
I don't.
if they
Hey,
Mhm.
I was just on Amazon today. I ordered some paper for my office and something else for my
Mhm.
office, and also a headphone. And you know what?
Yeah.
It was so easy. Click, click, click. Gonna get in 2 days. Boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom. Have a nice day. See you later.
Yeah. I order all
Hey,
my movies from Amazon. I mean,
no,
it's like, you know,
I
what's
can get,
funny, Carl? Mhm.
I get all my office supplies from Amazon. I mean, unless if I happen to be in
Mhm.
Vegas and I'm near an Office Depot, then I'm like,
Mhm.
well, I'm here, so shit. Then I'll just, and I happen to be near one. I mean, I don't go out of my way to go find one because I can just get on Amazon. So if I happen to be like in
Mhm.
that right, like within like 2 miles of one, okay, I'll pull in if we need some extra stuff. I'll grab it. But yeah, I don't make a special trip.
Mhm.
Why should I do that?
Mhm.
Let them
Yeah.
do it. Well, first of all, I get the free shipping
Yeah.
and what I pay for my office supply. Forget the free shipping. What I pay for my office supplies is cheaper than what I could get if I drove down the hill. We call it driving down the hill here. Drive down the hill and go buy it myself, and I have to waste
Mhm.
3 hours just getting there and back, and 20 minutes in the store, 30 minutes in the store, and then I got to put gas in the car,
Mhm.
and all that time is dead time. Versus I can get on my cell
Yeah.
phone like today. I was in the office today, right? And I just shut down the computers.
Mhm.
I remember I needed some paper and I needed some other things, and I'm like, oh, okay. I just pull my phone out, click, 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 boom, done, and it was over. I mean, literally, I'm walking out
Yeah.
the door. I'm doing it as I'm walking from the back of my office to the front door. By the time I got to the front door, I was
Mhm.
done. I mean, that was it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
no,
you know
no, no,
what's
no.
funny, Carl? When I
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's a leftist, but I'm sorry, he's also
Mhm.
a great businessman, and
Yeah.
he offers he saves me money on my bottom line. You know.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. But though. But the funny thing, what's interesting about Amazon is that they seem to be. I mean, I've only heard this, but I've never researched it. Maybe maybe you might not know. But I've always heard that the left, they're always trying to get conservative material off of Amazon, like Mark Dice's books, David Harris Jr.'s books. Like they don't want any like conservative writer on there, right? But and I remember back they were trying to get the NRA channel, one of the channels the NRA has on Amazon off of Amazon, but Amazon's like, no, we're not doing that, So it's funny because it seems like they seem to be a little bit more friendlier to conservatives, towards their
Well,
merchandise and stuff. I mean,
Tucker had a problem with his book on Amazon. Something happened with his book. I remember that. So I mean, no, they're not.
mhm,
No, look. The guy's a leftist, and if you're putting out content, conservative content, yeah, he's gonna mess with you a little bit, and I don't know how much, but I remember Tucker had some kind of problem,
mhm,
like the publisher they sent it to Amazon or some, I can't remember what it was, but I'd already pre-ordered the book, so I didn't have a problem, and I can't remember if
mhm,
I bought 2 copies, and I can't remember if I pre-ordered from his site
mhm,
or from
mhm,
Amazon. But I had pre-ordered the book, and when he first mentioned it on his show, I quick went and pre. So I must have pre-ordered it off of Amazon, I think, because I just went and pre-ordered it, and I got
mhm,
it. I got both my books, no problem. I mean, they came, as soon
mhm,
as it was available,
mhm,
I got it like the next day. So I didn't have a problem. But he
mhm.
said some people out there were having problems with it or something. I don't know.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, but the interesting thing about what was the Ship of Fools, right? That Tucker wrote,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then there
yeah.
was another. What was the other? Um, I haven't read that one yet. I'll be honest, Carl. I don't do much reading unless I'm looking at a story.
No, no.
I mean, not that I don't like
Yeah.
to read.
No, I
Hmm?
generally only buy their books just to
But
support them. I don't have time to read their books. I'm sorry.
oh,
And plus, I read
okay.
all day
Mhm,
long. If I'm not in court, I'm reading, and when I'm in court, I'm reading, and I'm
mhm,
reading all day long. So I'm not a big fan of getting home and reading some more. Like I read the online
yeah.
newspapers and stuff like that. Like Washington Times, Washington
Mhm,
Examiner, Wall Street Journal. I have a subscription to Washington
mhm,
Post also. Jeff Bezos, Washington Post. But
mhm,
okay. But anyway, so
yeah.
I read those, but I read them online, and I could read through newspaper
Mhm,
articles, or if I read something in an article and I
mhm,
don't know enough about it, yeah, I'll Google it and I'll research it. But I'm doing it all sitting here on my computer. But as
mhm,
far as sitting down and opening up a book
yeah.
and reading a book and sitting, I don't have the time to do that. I just don't.
Yeah. Mhm. It's interesting because whenever God, what was it? Who was it that because like I've been using DuckDuckGo more, right, rather than Google. I mean, sometimes still got to use Chrome for certain websites, but okay, whatever. But what's really funny about DuckDuckGo is that DuckDuckGo, because I'll use it for, like looking at a story. That's how I found that Simon Hody story, the one I was telling you about, how they let, some people, live in their garden, they couldn't get them out. Um, but it's funny because even on DuckDuckGo, you still get all the liberal, left-leaning news like Vox and Huffington Post and CNN. So it's like I wonder how much. They say DuckDuckGo is a better format than Google because DuckDuckGo doesn't track you, but yet you kind of wonder how much influence the left has with DuckDuckGo if you're getting all these liberal news outlets that just
The
pop
idea,
up in your feed.
the idea that you're not getting tracked because you're not on Google or you're on DuckDuckGo. I mean, whatever. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're all being tracked all the time, everywhere, anytime. So what difference does it make?
Yeah.
Maybe you're not being tracked for certain advertisers. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so, but I mean, you're being tracked by
Mm-hmm.
everybody else. I mean, look, we just live in
Mm-hmm.
that
You know
reality
what's
we're
fun?
in. Unless you're going to go off the grid. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I do mean off the grid. I mean, no cell phones,
Yeah.
no internet,
Yeah.
nothing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, zero,
Yep.
nada. Not even a hard line. I
Yep.
mean, just zilch.
Yep.
Live in a cabin somewhere in the
Literally
mountains.
homeless, basically.
Well, no, you don't have to be
Yep.
homeless. You can live in a cabin in the mountains and whatever. But I mean, that's it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you're being tracked. You watch something on TV, you're being tracked. If you have a smart TV, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody's required to have a box now, so they're tracking you through the boxes. I mean, sorry, we're
Mm-hmm.
all being tracked everywhere, anytime, whatever. I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks like you turn off you turn off the tracker on your phone, right? Like the location, right?
Hmm.
It's still on. We all know it's still on.
Well,
I
no,
mean, it's
yeah, I think Tucker
like
showed that on his show. Like they turned it off, and they drove around, and
mm-hmm.
then when they turned it back on,
Mm-hmm.
it started uploading all the information where they were all day. So just
Mm-hmm.
because you turn the phone
Yeah.
off doesn't mean
Yeah.
shit. They all the
Mm-hmm.
information gets stored in there, and they uploaded all the information. They watch it being uploaded as soon as they turn the phone back on.
Yeah. Mhm. You ever see those videos of those guys that they talk to their Alexas and their what's the other one the series, right? And then like the
Yeah.
one guy, huh?
Yeah, no, I don't have those. I
Uh,
mean, look,
oh,
my phone does.
oh yeah.
My phone listens to
Mm-hmm.
me enough when I don't have it on. I don't need anybody else listening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my phone's already.
Yeah. Yeah.
I already got Google, and I forgot who else automatically. I think Google like has that Google Assistant, and then Android has their little
Mm-hmm.
Android Assistant. So between Android and Google, I got two people listening to me already. I don't need anybody else listening to me. So yeah, I'm no
Yeah.
thanks.
It's because like what's funny? If there was one thing Trump could do to really make the left lose their minds is if he gave Edward Snowden a pardon. I mean, I doubt it'll ever happen, but Edward Snowden, he kind of violated his oath when when he
Oh no, he broke
what
the
was it? He
law.
rang the
No,
alarm on.
yeah, he broke the law.
Yeah.
Now whether he wants to be Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King
Hmm.
and take the civil disobedience. See, disobedience. There's a couple of parts to that. The first part is you knowingly break a law, but you're willing to accept the consequences of the unjust law to make your point and go
Hmm.
to jail. Now, if you're not willing to do the second
Yeah.
point, well, then you're not engaging in civil disobedience. You're just engaging in uncivil disobedience to a law. Now, I don't blame the
Yeah.
guy for splitting and not
Yeah.
wanting to go to prison. Okay, I get that, but he still broke the law. He might have been he thought he was doing
Hmm.
the right thing, and
Hmm.
probably maybe he was actually doing the right thing. He exposed a lot of things that we didn't know
Hmm.
about. So, but
You
somebody does
know.
have to pay a
Hmm.
price for that, and he may someday end up having to pay the price for that. And again, I don't blame the
Yeah.
guy for leaving. I think I watched that movie about a month ago. Finally, I kept holding off on watching
Hmm.
it, but I watched it about a month ago. It was really good, actually, a really good movie. I watched it on Amazon. There you go.
He was.
But anyway, so
Hmm.
I watched
Yeah.
it on Amazon for free. I didn't have to pay anything for it. But it was a really, it was a really good movie. And
Hmm.
um, well, I pay $9.95 a month, but okay. But anyway, I got to watch the movie for free. So anyway, but it was a really good movie. And his girlfriend,
Yeah.
they let his girlfriend emigrate out there, and the Russians, I guess
Hmm.
he's still in Russia. The Russians said, yeah, she can come and stay with him because he was really tight with that
Uh-huh.
girlfriend of his.
Yeah,
Well, at least
mhm,
according to the movie, they looked like they were pretty close, and I guess they
mhm,
were because she left her life behind here and went out to Russia to go live with him. So I guess yeah, I guess that's
yeah,
true love. Hey, there you go,
yeah. Oh yeah.
true
Carl.
love.
See, Edward Snowden. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Rare thing nowadays. It's a very rare thing nowadays. But see, Edward Snowden and Julian Assange they both have one thing in common, and that's they pissed off a lot of people. They pissed off an a large amount of people. Between like the stuff I never really followed Julian Assange, but I know the stuff that he exposed with WikiLeaks, and the Edward Snowden blew the whistle that hey, look, the government's listening in on you. A lot of people were not surprised when Edward Snowden came out with that because there were people who knew what was going on back in the 90s, back in the 2000s.
Hmm.
It's funny because somebody had actually brought an interesting thing today that that was talking about. It's like if the globalists wanted to crash the economy, why didn't they do it during Y2K? When they could have easily done it when computers were going back to 1900s when you were trying to like see if they were recognizing 2000, right?
Yeah,
And it's funny because
actually,
you would have.
we have a resident expert on Y2K and computers in the chat, but I will not divulge that person's name or identity. But we have an
Oh,
expert on
okay.
that whole issue.
Uh huh.
It may not
But
may not
you would
even
have thought.
may not even be in the chat right now, but it is definitely a subscriber.
Uh huh. Oh. Um. But it's strange because like I never really thought of it like that because Y2K could have really been bad had they not fixed those computers. I mean that could have been a disaster for our billing systems and our whole way of life because even 20 years ago we were dependent on computers as much as we are
Well,
now. To get things done.
yeah, but what's funny about the Snowden thing? What Snowden exposed? Remember, that was during the Obama administration. What he exposed was the
Uh
same
huh.
stuff the CIA and the FBI used against the Trump people. The same technology
Mhm.
that he exposed, they actually used against Trump. As
Mhm.
far as like remember the FISA warrant, that's not where it started. July 31st, where the FBI opened up a formal counterintelligence investigation. That's not where this all started. I mean, this
Mhm.
started way before then. Some
Mhm.
people go say December 2015. I mean, again, Misford's meeting with
Yeah.
Papadopoulos and friends like in March and April, and they didn't just think that up like the day before. And remember,
Mhm.
Christopher Steele got his admonishment, which is like when a cop meets with a confidential informant, and they have you like sign a
Mhm.
contract, and it says things you can and cannot do. Like with a confidential informant, like in a drug deal, who's going to be your CI on drug deals, like they say you cannot use drugs,
Mhm.
you cannot buy your own drugs, you cannot engage in criminal activity, you cannot do any of these things, and they have to sign all this stuff, and you cannot disclose your CI, of course. So, they gave him
Mhm.
that formal admonishment. I want to say February 3rd. It was,
Mhm.
I'm just going to see if I can pull this up here. Let me see here real quick. Uh, let's see. What was it?
But yeah, no, Carl. Next time I call in, like when you go live, what I'll do is I'll do a VMix video call with you. Because like I said, I'm always calling in, and the least I can do is just appear side by side with you. You know what I mean?
February, see, it'd be 2016. Yep, 2016.
But it was a
Calendar.
low-level judge, right, in the FISA court that signed it and signed off on it.
Let's
I
see.
thought it was a
Okay,
low-level
hold on.
judge.
Oh yeah, it was February. Well, it was a FISA court judge. Where I don't know how they get appointed. I'm thinking FISA court judges are probably. I don't think they're magistrates. I think they're U.S. District Court judges, and they go on a rotation. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're
Hmm.
U.S. District Court judges. I mean, I think they're actual. Like you have
Yeah.
magistrates, which are like your under judges. They do certain hearings and stuff. They don't do trials. So maybe it could have been a federal magistrate or a U.S. District Court judge. I'm not sure. Whoever it was, it seemed like
Mm-hmm.
it got to the point where these judges were just rubber stamping these guys' stuff and just counting on these guys to tell them the
See,
truth. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it looked
that's
like
the other.
February 3rd.
Mhm.
The Iowa caucus was February 2nd, 2016, and that was the day after
Mhm.
Trump came in second, and Christopher Steele got his admonishment, his basically how to act, how not to act, what to do, what not to do, from the FBI in February 3rd of 2016, one day later.
Mhm.
So I mean, all this stuff started. So in other words, before they had the actual FISA court warrant, if they were listening to people, they were doing it through what's known as a FISA 702, which doesn't require a warrant. And I think that's what Durham's going to get to eventually at some point, maybe the inspector general even, to say, okay, how are they spying on these people? They didn't, because the FISA court warrant didn't come until late September, but they were spying on these people way
Mhm.
before then and listening to the conversations and stuff. But all the things
Mhm.
Snowden talked about, like in the movie, Snowden showed like if this person talks to 20 people, and each of those 20 people talk to 20 people, and each of those 20 times
Mhm.
whatever the fucking number is, talk to people. It's
Mhm.
20 to the 20th power to the 20th power to the 20th power to the 20th power, each level you get to. So, I mean, it's like millions of people you can listen in on. If you get a warrant for one guy, or you do a FISA 702 informal warrant, if you will, the FBI director has to sign off on that one. But as long as he signs off on it, it's
Mhm.
okay. So, eventually you get to the campaign headquarters, you get to Lewandowski, Conway, you get to Manafort, you get to the campaign headquarters itself, you get to Trump, and they get to listen into all the campaign strategy. And like I said, my opinion was they were
Mhm.
using that to give real-time intel to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And so what they're wanting us to think was an
Mhm.
awful thing, like, oh, no. See, that's the counter intel. When you think what you found to be awful, like, okay, we're going to use this information to as an
Mhm.
insurance policy in case Trump wins. Okay, that sounds terrible. And then they use it and they make it public. Because remember, FBI and CIA was not trying to make that public before the election. Now Christopher Steele was, and Fusion GPS was, right? That's why they kept trying to shop it around
Mhm.
to everybody.
Yeah.
And they kept going to the Attorney General's office saying, "Hey, you got to get this out." They kept meeting with the FBI. You got to make this
Mhm.
public. And they were saying, "No, we're not going
Mhm.
to." Well, the reason why they weren't going to because they wanted to keep that secret. They were giving
Mhm.
it. They were using that as an excuse to get the warrants and surveillance, so they give that information to Clinton before, while the campaign was going on, so she could win the election, like Stefan
Mhm.
Halper did to Jimmy Carter when he worked for Reagan, getting his debate preparation
Mhm.
materials. So then now after he loses, the
Mhm.
insurance policy is okay. We're gonna try to do a coup. Well, okay, that sounds awful, right? So we go, oh my God, that's terrible, but that's just a distraction from what they were really doing, in my opinion. What they were really doing was
Yeah.
much worse.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, Loretta Lynch was turning a blind eye to a lot of stuff, obviously going on too in these FISA courts. You know, and the funny thing too is that, and I hope William Barr see, because all these FISA judges see, this is the same problem we have as unelected bureaucrats trying to make policy and force things down our throat that we, as people, don't vote for. We don't vote for these judges to abuse the power of the courts and to abuse their positions basically. And it
Right.
kind of goes, because I remember saying it a long time ago, a while back, like when I first started calling in your show a lot. We're going to
Hmm.
be in for a wild ride, and we're in that wild ride right now. I mean, look at how much of the corruption. I mean, I don't think people would have ever imagined that American companies would be so anti-American or get into politics, or literally destroy their businesses. I mean, people are flabbergasted at it, but the fact that they've been doing it and doing it, people are like, okay, it's like Nike. Nike, I think, what was it, their stocks tanked last time? I think I haven't been following it, but these companies that go woke, go broke. It's like they don't care that they're going broke. And again, it all goes back to what I'm saying.
Well,
It
no,
was
no, no, look, no, look. Okay, watch.
designed.
Okay, watch this. Watch this. Okay, I forgot who covered it,
Mhm.
but somebody did. Okay, Nike's not stupid. Okay, Nike knows if they go with Colin Kaepernick because it's just a statistical economic fact that black people with
Mhm.
the same income as white people spend 30% more on apparel than white people with the same income. Okay, so that's what they're betting
Mhm.
on. Okay, so they're betting on the fact that
Mhm.
okay, if they go towards this issue with say Kaepernick and the Betsy Ross flag, that they're gonna make money, and they did. They made money on when they got Colin Kaepernick, and they probably gonna make money on this
Mhm.
whole Betsy Ross thing. So no, they're making money. I mean, you know,
Mhm.
there you go.
Personally, I don't agree. Personally, I don't agree with boycotting companies. I mean, that's just me, because you stop and think about it. Even those people who are left, they have families that they're probably trying to support too. And again, if we have to use boycotts, and it all goes back to, you know, how can we have a civil conversation if we're just going to, go into boycotting? And I mean, it's like Starbucks. I don't care for their political views, but their political views, they have a right to them. I still go to Starbucks and get my overpriced vanilla bean frappuccino because it's good and I like it, and I always get good customer. Well, the Starbucks that I've gone to, I've always gotten good customer service. They're friendly and people for the mess of my order, they take they're quick to take care of it. And it's like it's just these boycotts. I don't think these boycotts people take them seriously. You know, but the fact that people are even trying to call for boycotts is just ridiculous on both sides. You know, it's funny, Carl. When I go on Amazon, right, and I'm looking for a movie, sometimes I'll buy a movie from a company out in California simply because, hey, look, maybe it's like God's telling me to do this, right? Just I know I'm being silly when I say this, but it's like, okay, you know what? It's not going to hurt me to buy it from California, and and this company has, they got a good rating, so why not? You know what I'm saying? Just to help a fellow human being out, I'll pay the extra money. Okay, I bought this from California. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if more people thought that way, we would be in a much, much better, situation. And it's like some of these people who actually, like, some people on the left, who actually take action and do things rather than demanding other people, pay for it. I've seen GoFundMe's that say, hey, look, donate to this, and we're trying to help, get some food, to the border, yada yada. You'd be surprised at how many people on the right might actually donate, to them. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
not everybody is. I mean, not everybody is the heartless and evil that that they make them out to be. The problem that people are having with the left, and I've always said this before, the two biggest problems that the right has with the left is the fact that they want socialism and open borders. If you take away those two things, we would get along so much easier. So if you get just those two things alone, would make things so much smoother in this country. You know,
Well, I
but
mean,
it's
well, you can't.
mhm.
I mean,
No,
look.
go ahead.
I mean, look. If these people just were reasonable, then it would be a lot different. Okay, but they're just not reasonable. But anyway, man, let me let you go, and
Yep.
I'm going to cover some other news stories
Oh yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
And if anybody else wants to call
Okay.
in, they can go ahead and call in. Sound good?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Hopefully, I like to see Common Sense with Elizabeth call in. She's pretty smart. Hopefully, just some of her videos. She's really, really, really good. Good analogy on a lot of things. But all right. I'll see you back in the chat, Carl.
All right, man. Have a good one. All right. Bye bye.
All right. All right. Take care. All right. Bye.
And that was the great dirtbag, the great dirtbag on the phone. Always a great conversation. Always talking about things that makes me want to think about other stuff and kind of just expands the conversation. So always a great phone call. Thank you, Mr. Great Dirtbag. Thank you so much for the phone call. But the phone lines are open. If you want to call in, area code 775-273-8970. So, anyway, let's look at this one. Democratic Medicare for All push stands to rescue Trump on health care. Yeah, because big push for the Democrats, and I don't know why they don't remember just 2 years ago. One of the big reasons why they won in 2018, other than they were really pissed off, was that they really went out there and talked about health care a lot. And I'll be honest with you, it caught me a little flat-footed, caught the Republicans flat-footed. Nobody really thought that was going to get a lot of traction, and you can never tell what people are going to key in on. And the Democrats, for some reason, were smart. They took a chance. They thought if we bring up this health care issue, it's going to be affecting a lot of middle class, working class, middle class, suburban people a lot. And it's something, we're not asking them to vote against Donald Trump also for the midterms. And we're just saying, look, we need to get some, the right Congress people in there to push heavy on this health care. And it worked. I mean, that was one of the big reasons why they won in 2018. So anyway, according to this author, this is David Drucker of the Washington Examiner, saying the Democratic Medicare for All plan actually stands to rescue Trump on health care. And we covered this last week when Elizabeth, talking about Elizabeth Warren running into problems with the unions on healthcare, because again, and I talked about, I think we talked about this also just Friday night too, how that I was in the carpenters union, these union people negotiated for these health plan packages, and they gave up some money, some dollars per hour in wages in order to get these healthcare plans. And then, Elizabeth Warren's like, well, they all have to go. No more private insurance. Harris said no more private insurance. She had to walk that back a little bit, but it's still everybody's talking about like a 5-year plan where after 5 years it's gone. Well, we're all going to be alive in 5 years, so that doesn't help, is my opinion. Um, it doesn't help the Democrats. Anybody saying, we're only going to get rid of it in 5 years. Those union people are going to be pissed. And like I said, they go back to the employer saying, "Oh, can we have a couple more bucks now since you're not paying for health insurance for us?" And they're going to say, "Hey, bullshit! Look at how much more money I'm paying in taxes." And they're going to be right and say, "I have to pay this much more in taxes." In fact, they'll open the books and show them, "I'm paying this much more." Hey, DA, how you doing there, Mr. DA Archer? Good seeing you there in the chat. See, let me write that. You know, so as far as having to pay more in taxes and everything else, the employer's gonna say, "Look, we can't pay you additional wages." And so the union members are pretty pissed off, and where the union's big at Midwest. A lot of union people out there in the Midwest. And in fact, the firefighters union was saying the only reason why they were supporting Biden was Biden was against the Medicare for All plan. He was in favor of expanding Obamacare, which allowed for private insurance companies and allowed people to have private insurance. So that's why the one firefighters union was going for Biden. I think it's still a stupid reason. If you want private insurance, just stay with President Trump. I mean, you're a firefighter, you're a first responder, you're supposed to be kind of tough. But I guess there are a lot of pussies out there. So what are you gonna do? But anyway, no notification. Damn, DA, that sucks. All right, so let's take a look at this story here. Again, phone lines are open. Phone number area code 775-273-8970. So, Democratic Medicare for All push stands to rescue Trump on health care. From just, it looks like 2 hours ago. Breaking news. See, we break the news here on Carl's Opinion when the news gets broken. Yay! Okay. The Democratic Party is riding to President Trump's rescue on health care with talk of repealing Obamacare and eliminating private insurance in favor of a government system that has drawn the skepticism of American voters. The move could offer a political lifeline to Trump. His stubborn commitment to repealing and replacing Obamacare, once a winning message, has left him vulnerable on health care, a key voter priority. Yeah, it's like one of the top. A Democratic nominee who also proposes junking Obamacare, albeit by different means, could hand the issue back to Trump and strengthen his hand in critical electoral battlegrounds. Democrats struggled for nearly a decade after Barack Obama signed the Affordable Care Act into law to gain the upper hand on health care, finally being rewarded by the voters in the 2018 midterm elections after years of suffering electoral losses. Now, a few of the party's leading presidential contenders propose junking Obamacare and the private insurance market under the guise of Medicare for All. If people want private insurance, they should have that choice. I think that's a smarter position, veteran Democratic strategist Joe Trippi said. It just blunts any Republican ability to move on health care at all. The 2009-2010 debate over the legislation that became the Affordable Care Act and then enactment and implementation of the law in the subsequent years of the Obama presidency arguably cost the Democratic Party control of the House and Senate plus nearly 1,000 seats in state legislatures across the country. Right. Public opinion began to turn after Trump took office, and Republicans, then in full command of Congress, pushed to repeal and replace Obamacare. Well, the problem is they didn't have a plan. I mean, these guys were talking about this thing for years. You think somebody would have had a plan? Okay, here's our plan to replace it, and this is why it's going to take care of pre-existing conditions and things like that. But the Republicans, I don't know what they were doing for like 6, 7 years. They kept saying, "Oh, we want to replace it," and then nobody had a plan. Nobody had anything. By last fall's midterm elections, Democrats recaptured the House in part because they vowed to protect Obamacare from Republican efforts to repeal it. When the 6 months later, 46% of all adults view the law favorably and 40% unfavorably, according to a Kaiser Family Foundation tracking poll. 47% of independent voters, a crucial block in presidential contests, that's 47%, hold similarly positive views. Senator John Tester, Democrat of Montana, aggressively defended Obamacare as he won a tough 2018 re-election bid in a state Trump won by more than 20 points. Taking away Americans' private coverage and forcing them to sign up for government insurance would meet fierce opposition, at least in states like Montana, Tester said. Yeah, in a lot of states, because, first of all, we don't know what we're getting from this. Okay, Medicare for all. Well, Medicare for all is not going to look like Medicare. Okay, Medicare, you have to be over, what, 62 to get it? I mean, it's a lot, it's a big difference. Okay, so saying you're going to give that same process to all 330 million Americans, good luck. I mean, my God, what kind of a bureaucracy are you going to create, and who's going to manage it, and who's going to be able to handle something like that? Nobody. That's who. It's going to be a disaster, and everybody knows it. And it's going to be a disaster for like the first 10 years minimum. I mean, excuse me. I mean, bang into the mic there. See, that's how mad I got. I just banged in the mic. But I mean, for the first 10 years, it's going to be a complete disaster. People are going to be missing out on a doctor's appointment, surgeries, prescription medication. I mean, you name it. It's just, and everybody knows that. I mean, if you think the government's going to get this right the first time, like as soon as they bring it out and say, oh, we passed a law, and then 3 months later it becomes effective, good luck. When has that ever happened? Like it never. And you're gonna say, and then you're getting. This is what you're doing. I mean, all the new billing. I mean, all the insurance companies are gone. Then of course all those people are unemployed. They have to go to work then in the public sector and go, transfer over there. Well, it's different working in the private sector than working in the public sector. They don't generally don't mesh so good. So the third-term senator, who for years experienced headwinds over his support for Obamacare, is finally enjoying the fruits of his political investment. It's kind of funny, John Tester. I'm not for only a government offered insurance. I think strengthen the Affordable Care Act, potentially put in a public option in so people would have a choice. Tester said it during a brief interview. Yeah, but you can't. If you're going to do the public option, it can't be by choice. It'll never be funded. Well, you can't do it. It's going to cost too much. The only way you're going to be able to do a public option is if that's the only option. Okay, it has to just take over everything. If it doesn't, you can't afford to fund it. You just can't. Without raising taxes out the kazoo, and nobody's going to be in favor of that. Okay, so the problem with putting the federal government in charge of healthcare, Tester explained, is number one, how you pay for it, and number two, what does that do for the people that have insurance? Well, it kicks them off it. Tester said railroaders, and other workers in the state who have generous employer-based health care would aggressively resist attempts to eliminate private coverage. Yeah, I think 160 million Americans have health care coverage through their employer. I mean, like we all bitch about health insurance from time to time, but Jesus. Someone call in. Carl is a great guy. Don't lie about me, the great dirtbag. I'm not a great guy. But anyway. But anyway, let's see. Top labor officials are issuing similar warnings, saying rank and file union members in key swing states would flee to Trump in 2020 if the Democratic nominee advocates for wiping away benefits they negotiated through collective bargaining agreements. Liesl Hickey, a senior Republican strategist who has watched her party's fortunes rise and fall on the health care issue and keeps close tabs, let's see, and keeps, let's see, I don't want to repeat it four times, hold on, and keeps close tabs on suburban voters where support for Trump is soft, said Democrats would be foolish to squander the political high ground. Hickey predicted a Democratic nominee who runs on abolishing private insurance and putting Washington in charge of health care would be doing exactly that, reviving the president's fortunes with disaffected Republicans in the process. Democrats are totally overreaching, and it will backfire. Americans are mostly happy with their private insurance. To just scrap the whole thing, nobody's there, she said. Among the leading Democratic contenders, Warren and Bernie Sanders proposed abolishing private health insurance and transitioning to a government system they dubbed Medicare for All. Kamala Harris has hedged. Well, at first she said, yeah, she's all in favor of getting rid of it, which tells you how she's really thinking. So trust me. She says, oh, then she got some pushback from the unions. Then she's like, oh, no, I wouldn't get rid of that. Yes, she would. Okay, who's she kidding? Kamala Harris has hedged. On some occasions, she has pledged to put the government in control, while at other times she has said she supports maintaining access to private insurance. See, that's the problem with Kamala Harris. I know I predicted she'd get the Democratic nomination, but the problem with her is after Trump and even Sanders in 2016, you can't be a politician who licks his finger, sticks it in the air, and sees which way the wind is blowing. You got to be able to answer a question now and give your answer and say whether people like it or not. Sanders did it in 16, and Trump did it in 16. Now Hillary Clinton did not. And you'd ask her a question, she'd have to, her staff would have to put it out to a focus group, and they get you an answer literally like a week or two later. Well, that's not how it works now, especially with social media. People want answers now. And if you're sincere and you really feel passionately about what you're saying, and whether you piss some people off from time to time, people say at least I know where this candidate stands. Kamala Harris is the ultimate like, well, let's just see what the people have to say, and then that's what I want. She came out, oh yeah, I'll get rid of private insurance, just government run healthcare. She said it, I heard it, and then when the unions bitched and moaned, she's like, oh well, no, I wouldn't get rid of union insurance because they've earned it. And then people applaud, yay, forgetting what she said just literally like 2 days earlier. She said, I don't know. But anyway, Democrats like Joe Biden, Obama's vice president, Pete Buttigieg, are proponents of strengthening the Affordable Care Act in part by adding the option to purchase Medicare-style coverage from the government. Good luck. Again, if you don't go all in, you're not going to be able to get it done. Reducing the cost of premiums and deductibles tops Americans' concerns about health care. And polls have shown that voters are suspicious that putting the government in charge would solve this pressing problem. Yeah, the people, they all know that if you put the government in charge, that doesn't guarantee you shit. It doesn't guarantee you anything. That they're somehow it's going to be more efficient. It's going to work better for you. You're going to be able to keep your doctor. The surgery that you have lined up for 2 months from now is still going to be there available. The hospital's not going to go bankrupt. All the new billing program. I mean, Jesus, what a nightmare. And they're wanting the American people to go along with this for their social experiment, which is really totally unfair. Not right. All right, let me get to our next story here. Uh, All right, Trump urges progressive Democrat Congresswoman to leave the United States and swipe at AOC squad. Now, this is where I think I'm going to say Trump stepped on the rake because you had, and I think, and this maybe he didn't step on a rake. This is my conspiracy theorist working here. Trump and Pelosi have known each other for years. Now, Trump needs Pelosi to get some things done, and there's certain things he wants done. Like he wanted that money going down to the migrants, right? He wanted that bill to pass. He got it through the Senate. It was totally bipartisan. And he wanted Pelosi to put it on the floor in the House. Now, Pelosi could have said no. Now, remember now, Pelosi wanted those raids stopped like 2, 3 weeks ago. Trump agreed, and he even mentioned her name when he said, "Okay, we're going to call the raids off because Congress, Speaker Pelosi asked me if I could postpone them, and as a favor to her, I'm going to postpone them." Now, if you remember, Pelosi didn't come out and say thank you. Pelosi came out and just ripped into Trump, saying, "Oh, Trump's an idiot, and he's terrible. He's hurting children. He's ripping families apart." So it wasn't even like, "Okay, I'll do this for you. Say something nice about me." No, she goes, "Look, I need some help. I got these people on my side. These people are attacking me over here. These young people. I might have been like an old people thing. Hey, these young people are trying to come up my ass, and I need some help." So I think because right now the Democrats are totally divided. Pelosi wing of the party and AOC and her friends, totally divided. The far left and Nancy Pelosi, the corporate Democrats, centrist Democrats. And then here comes Trump to save the day to rescue. And I said this on Friday, like I made a joke like Trump was going to unify the Democrats because one of the Democrats said, "Oh, this is before they postponed the Mueller hearing. It's supposed to be this Wednesday, the 17th." And he goes, "Well, that'll probably reunify us." Mueller talking bad about Trump. I go, "Yeah, Trump to the rescue to reunify the Democrats." Well, I guess with the hearing being called off for another week, Pelosi needed some help and said, "Hey, I need some help with you reunifying my party," and all saying, looking at me, saying I'm a big hero and whatever. So maybe he put this out because right now they were in total disarray over there. And then, of course, he just puts this out, and then they can all coalesce together. Pelosi puts out a statement. AOC puts out a statement. A bunch of other center Democrats put out statements, all denouncing Trump. Trump takes down the tweet. It was kind of a big mess. So, and in fact, instead of saying what he could have said, instead of saying Democrat Congresswomen, because only one of them was born overseas, because Presley was born in the United States, Ocasio-Cortez was born in the United States, and I want to say, see, Omar was not. Obviously, he was born in Somalia. So you have Cortez, Omar, Presley, and see, Cortez, Omar, Presley, and who the other fourth? Oh, Talib. And I think I want to say Talib was born in the United States. I might be wrong about that. Oh, and I think she was born in Lebanon. So, you know, I mean, Cortez was and Presley were both born in the United States. So, yeah, if you're going to make an attack like that, you got to be really specific and clear. But he didn't. But I understand what he was saying. What he said in his tweet was, "Hey, you're sitting here bitching about the United States. You're calling Nancy Pelosi a racist. You're upset with how we're treating these migrants. If the countries you came from, they obviously are not doing better than we are. We're doing better than the countries you came from. So I tell you what, instead of like running away from your country, like Omar, which you and your family did, why don't you go back there and use all the knowledge and education and experience you gathered here and go back to your country over there and fix it over there, and then come and tell us all about it later." Okay, I understand what he was trying. Well, I understand what he said. I mean, he didn't try to say anything, but it could have been said a little bit better. So, did he step on a rake on this one? I don't know. The Democrats were in complete disarray. If he had just stayed out of it, just let them keep feeding on each other. I mean, we covered that Friday. I had the picture of what picture did I have up? Hold on, let me see. Where is it? Oh, I had this one up. Yeah, that was the picture I had up Friday with I had the caption I had was Democrats eating their own. And I mean, that's how bad it was getting Friday night. I mean, I had a picture of, I think that was representing at the time Joe Biden, because remember they're calling Joe Biden, racist because they were asking him to apologize for deporting 3 million illegal aliens during the Obama Biden administration. And I had this picture, the left eating their own. I mean, that's how bad it was getting. If he had just stayed out of it and just let them eat their own, but that's another thing with Trump. It's like Trump is one of those guys, and we all love him to death. I love him to death. And if it wasn't the way he did it, he would have never won 2016. If he would have taken advice like from me or anybody else, he would have lost. Okay, so what he does wins. Okay, you cannot argue with that. But here we go. Phone call coming in. Hey, Effie Real, how you doing? Effie Loves America.
Hey, Mr. Carl. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Good
I,
weekend?
Yeah, actually, it's been a really good weekend. Yeah, I got real busy yesterday, and just didn't. I just had way too much going on, and it was like, it was late. By the time I get everything all wrapped up and everything done, it was like late, and I'm like, I don't, because you just can't like say, oh, walk up to the computer and go, click, I'm gonna go live. I mean, you could, but you can have a shitty show. So, I mean, you got to kind of prepare a lot of things and get everything ready and do a lot of research and find the news articles. So it's like that takes like another hour or two to get all that done. About 2 hours generally to get all that put
Right.
together. Yeah. So yeah, and I'm like, oh
Because you're
fuck it.
professional and crap, you know. I know.
Well,
It's quality. It's
well,
quality.
well,
We
well.
appreciate it.
People are nice enough to come on here to listen to Carl's Opinion YouTube channel. The least I can do is give them, some good information and do the research and everything. I mean, I don't think that's too much of you
That's
guys to
cool.
ask. That's not too much of you to ask. I don't think. Plus, you guys let me smoke cigarettes. You let me smoke cigarettes. So what more can I ask than that?
I mean, it's old school. It's kind of cool. You know, like they used to smoke cigarettes on the television when I was a toddler. Apparently, I don't remember it, but I've heard. I've seen pictures.
Right. Right.
So it was a thing. I've even seen cartoons where they referred to cigarettes or cigarette smoking, like banned cartoons. I didn't actually see them, but I saw clips of Oh,
You're good.
okay, dear. You kind of disappeared. So
No, well,
he's
okay,
reading.
you're gonna see why because I was testing out my new anti-troll thing.
Are you
I think
going to zombie me again? Is
I,
this
was
a thing?
I was just testing it out. It works. I just want to see if it worked.
That's it. The dancing starfish is insulted. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a T-shirt with that too.
So anyway, wait, hold
They
on.
did
Wait.
the zombie one. I have to do it.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I like that bumper sticker. I'm gonna grab. Was there a way
You like
to?
that one?
Yeah, I'll get back on that later, and I'll actually buy some of those for sure.
You inspired me. Yeah, I made a graphic for Michelle today too. I just send them to her so she can put them in her shop because I do it just for a hobby. It's my unwinding,
Oh,
using the other side of my brain kind of
for
thing.
forbidden, Michelle. When you say Michelle, you mean forbidden?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I did some like I'm on like the fifth graphic now I've done for her. I just send them to her email and she puts them on whatever she wants to put them on. It's fun. I did a couple for DB. No, I just did one for DB, but then she put it in her shop for him so he can have a T-shirt with his beautiful icon on it.
Oh wait,
you,
dirtbag,
you see his
wait,
Superman?
wait, hold it. Dirtbag asked, "What happened?" And I said that was a test.
What? Yeah, yeah, he hates me. It's what it this all the passive aggressive stuff coming out now. Because we know how
What?
it really is.
I no, I don't. Wait, no, I hate you. I can't believe you said that. That's terrible, awful thing. But
No, you don't hate me. Okay, all right.
no.
I
Okay,
try
so
to not be as annoying. I'm the annoying little sister.
you're not. You see now. No, hold on. You got mad at Dirtbag the other night for the deprecation for putting himself down, and you got mad at him. Now, so we should all get mad at you. So don't do that. We'll get mad at you
Okay,
now.
all
There you
right.
go.
So everybody's mad at me now.
No, I figured out.
Okay.
I
Well, I
figured.
had a
I
good day
no.
yesterday too. I got my work done, and yeah.
Oh, hey,
So now I'm doing graphics.
did you make your money on that Bitcoin thing?
Oh, that's a longer term project. I had to order some
You're not
parts
done
for
yet?
that, but
You're not done yet? My God, that was Friday. That was like 2 days ago. My God. Oh, Jesus. What's this guy's number? I'm going to call him up and say, hey, look, man.
Carl, the thing, it doesn't even have a power supply. Do you know what that means? When a computer doesn't have a power supply?
Yeah, you go down to
I'm
Fry's
not
computer
saying it
store.
doesn't have a battery. It's
You
a
go.
tower.
Oh no, wait, hold on.
It,
Hold on.
mhm.
You get on Amazon. You go to Amazon, and then you look up the
Yeah,
power supply you need, and you order it, and then it comes in, and then you install it, and you plug it in, and then you hook up the wires, and then turn it on, and it works. Right? How hard is that? Just get it done.
exactly.
Jesus, I could have had it done by now.
And
I
that's
could,
stage one because I don't know what's going to happen when I turn it on. There could be smoke. There could be fire. I do have a fire extinguisher just in case near my bench because things do, some capacitors go.
well,
So
it's
things
funny
happen.
because it's funny
But
because I knew
mhm.
like I think I was telling you a friend of mine was an IT guy, but he didn't know a lot about electricity, and so he was hooking up.
Yeah,
He was hooking up a motherboard and
that's dangerous.
whatever. Yeah, and he fried this motherboard,
Yeah.
and so his boss said, "You don't know a lot about electricity, do you?" He goes, "No, I really don't." He goes, "Yeah, you got to watch out for
the
that
first
electricity."
thing the first thing I learned when I started taking apart machines is don't touch the capacitors. That was my first hard lesson. And yeah, but sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones we remember the most. So
Yeah.
yeah, don't touch the capacitors. If I could pass on my wisdom to the next generation, that's what I have to say. I'll put it on a bumper sticker. Anyway, this story this story you're on right now, you were heading in the right direction, so I apologize for interrupting you on that one.
No. Go ahead.
But yeah,
It's a live
yeah,
call in show. Didn't you look at the description? You don't read anything I do.
oh,
I do all this work and I
oh,
put in the
I'm
description
sorry. Yeah,
live call in show. Okay? I had to type
yeah,
those four
I'm
words
being
in.
lazy.
That took me at least 3 seconds to type those words in. And I even put them in all caps. And then I put a colon after the show. Live call in show, colon.
Yeah,
I mean, that was pretty creative.
I apologize. I'm taking you
It's
for
okay.
granted,
Exactly.
and I apologize.
This is why I can't have
I
nice
apologize.
things.
I know. That's why
No,
we
but
can't have nice things, Carl.
I love you that. But
People
anyway,
like me.
so go ahead. You said I was heading in the right direction, which means I assume you have an opinion
Yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
this story.
I had an anger moment because I was listening to Tim Cass cover this story earlier. You know, I'm calling him that because you're calling him that, so now I'm calling him Tim Cass instead
Well,
of.
he has two different sites.
Um,
He has a Tim Cass site and his
yeah,
Tim Pool site. I don't know which one I go on from time to time, but
right.
it shows up my feed and I just watch it. But anyway, go ahead.
Whatever's on the feed. Right, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I caught the story, whichever one it was on, and I was just like, he earned a thumbs down from me, and I don't often do that because I don't want to break his heart. I know getting a thumbs down from me is just going to rock his
Oh
world.
yeah, yeah.
So
He's gonna be
I
like
didn't.
beside
I
himself.
didn't want to do it to him, but I had to.
Right.
So something moves me to give somebody a thumbs down. It's got to be bad, and
So what did
he
he?
was really bad on this. Did you see his coverage of this story?
No, I didn't. I didn't watch his coverage on this one. But I'm assuming
Yeah.
he was probably pissed off at Trump for saying it.
Yeah. He was really pulling out that I really don't like Trump, pretty, and
Well, yeah. I
it
mean,
was
like,
kind of sickening
yeah. I
because
mean,
he was being obtuse. He was, intentionally misunderstanding what the man was saying, and then he tried to weasel back to sort of understand what he said, but then he waffled on
well,
back to no, I
all
really
you
don't
had to
like him, and
do,
he says bad things.
all you had to do was read the two. I think it was two, maybe three. It was two tweets because like he goes dot dot dot, and he does another one, for the character
Sure.
limitation. But all you had to do was read those
Yeah.
two tweets, and you
Right.
understood completely what the fuck he was saying. You're saying, hey, look, if
Mhm.
you're so smart, you got it figured out. You go back to your country and fix that mess, because this country is much better than where you came from. And because if it wasn't, you'd still
Right.
be there. I
Right.
mean, there's nothing wrong with saying that. Now,
Exactly.
the idea when he says, then of course the people on the left took it like, oh, go back home to where you came from. Well, no, there's a hell of a lot more he said than just that. And if Tim covered it like that, yeah, I'd be
Yes.
pissed off. I'd be pissed off too. I'd be really pissed off. Now, I was pissed off
Yeah, and
because
I was yelling. I was yelling at Tim's, round little face and his beanie, and I'm sure he heard me right through the computer. I was saying exactly that. You're reading into it just like the regressive left that he's always referring to, which he claims not.
right. But just read both tweets, and when you read both tweets,
Yeah.
it sounds pretty good. Now, what he's saying, he was talking about like all of them. I think only I see. I think Talib was born in Lebanon, and obviously Omar was born in Somalia. But I know Cortez was born in the U.S. and so was Presley. And so he should
Yeah,
have.
Talib was born in Detroit.
Oh,
Born in
Detroit.
Detroit, but
Oh,
for immigrants.
oh.
And, but the thing is, here's my point on that part of it, Carl, on that little part of it. People like Talib, she to immigrants, and all of her connections to that when it's to her advantage. So
Oh yeah.
they
No,
can
but
claim
well, no,
pseudo
but
immigrants when it's to their advantage.
right now, what Trump should have
But
said
then
was
Trump says, "Listen, I was born here."
Well,
like
yeah,
that
right.
matters to Democrats.
Right, it doesn't. But still, what he could have done was just singled out. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, Talib's born in Detroit. Also, he could have just singled out Omar.
Yes.
But he's saying like so
Yes.
when he says all of you go back to where you came from, then then you're looking at like say Talib, she looks Middle Eastern. Then you look at Presley, she's African American. You look at Cortez, she's Hispanic,
Right.
whatever. So he's saying like get out of our country, and so
Right.
it was easy for the left to just take
Because
that and
these
run with
first
it.
generation Democrats refer to their people as the people from their countries of their families' countries of origin. So they run around claiming sort of,
Well, he should have been
countries other than this country.
he should have. That's why I said
He should have worded it better.
he should have right. That's why I say
Yeah.
did he just step on a rake, or then my conspiracy theory was he just doing Pelosi a solid? Was he doing Pelosi a favor?
Yeah, and that's where my head went. Exactly why I was praising you, what you were saying, because my head was going, damn it, Trump. They're tearing each other apart. Let them tear each other apart. You could just sit back on your toilet.
There was a time
with
right.
your iPhone.
Thank you. Right, exactly. Now, like during, but see, like I was saying, he can't stay out of the press. If everybody's not talking about him, he's pissed. He's like, well, wait a second. I'm crazy. Talk about me. Watch. I'll say something.
Wait a minute. They're fighting, and I'm not in this. I want to be in the fight. I
want to be in the fight.
You're right. And then I sat back, and I thought, maybe I'm wrong here. Because every time I think Trump should have just kept his trap shut, it worked out for him.
Well, I know. See, that's what
So,
I was
and I was
saying.
wrong.
That's what I was saying. Like during the 16
Yeah.
campaign, I called the campaign headquarters, I think, at least 3 times, and I was on that little text thing back and forth that I had with his team Trump, whatever. And I was writing like, "What the fuck? Where's your where's your ground game? Like he was asking for donations." And I said, "Hey, break out your kids' college trust, your kids' trust account, and get the money from them before you start asking me for money." And I was like writing all this shit. But one of the biggest things that pissed me off was, remember after Clinton collapsed in the 9/11 thing in New York, when she collapsed and they threw her inside the van and drove off.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, like a rag
okay.
doll.
Even the left, Chris Matthews, even was covering this story. Like, you know what? Maybe she does have a health problem. And I'm like, oh my God, this is great. They're actually having to pick this story up and they're running with it. And how I said to myself, God, all you got to do is just shut up for like 2 weeks, right? And this story will have its own legs. But no, they weren't talking about him, so he got pissed. So then he put out a tweet about Clinton or something stupid. I forget. I can't remember what it was now. But all of a sudden now the press was looking for any excuse to get off that Clinton story, but they really couldn't. They had to cover it. So, but then he said something stupid, and that gave him the excuse to get off the Clinton story. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ,
Yeah.
stay out of the way. The press was doing your job for hell. The press was doing the job on
Mhm.
this thing because you had half the press siding with Pelosi, half the press siding with AOC. They were going back and forth. They were arguing with each other. The media was arguing with each other. The Democrats were arguing with each other. This was classic. All he had to do was
Mhm.
like, I don't care where he went to. Go to freaking China again. Say, I'm going to go to China for a few weeks. Yeah, good. Get the fuck out of here. Let these people destroy each other. But no, no, no.
Okay.
He had to get involved in it. It's like, ugh.
So, so let's share a little bit of tinfoil here.
Okay.
So, taking that train of thought further down the track, do you think it's possible that his old people deal with Pelosi might have involved him somewhat siding with her, a la these tweets, for a little bit of cooperation down the road?
Could be. It could very well be. He got her to put that the Senate bill on the floor of the House and vote on it, and that
Mhm.
and there was no. Well, they didn't even go to conference. They were going to go to conference, but McConnell told Pelosi, "Look, we go to conference. We ain't changing. We ain't
Yeah.
changing shit." And then Pelosi agreed to go ahead
Yeah.
and do that. And that was after Trump did her that favor of holding off the
Yes.
ICE raids and gave her the credit the blame, credit, whatever you want to call it, which on her side would be the credit for being the one that made him call it off, and she even talked shit about him afterwards. But then she still put that damn bill
Right.
on the floor of
You
the
think
House.
there's a backroom deal there because Pelosi, keeping in mind, she can't publicly, because her stance has been, I won't negotiate with that man, right?
Right. Right.
She's, crossing her
Well,
arms, pursing her lips, and trying to keep his
they've known
interest.
each other for like
Yeah.
20, 30 years. I mean, that's the circles he ran in. He ran in the. I mean,
Right.
he gave money to Kamala Harris. He gave
Right.
money to Pelosi. He
Do
gave money
you
to all
think
the.
he's, yeah, art of the dealing behind the scenes with her
I would
is
say
what I'm wondering.
I would say with her and definitely with Schumer. Schumer and him knew each other really really well. I mean, they're both fucking in New York. They're
Yeah.
both liberal Democrats at the time, and he has a lot of money. And Schumer
Mm-hmm.
needs money, and Schumer needs money to give to like his friends so he can get favors from his friends. Like he was. I think he was. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure he ever ran the D triples Democrat Senate Democratic Campaign Committee or whatever the fuck it's called. I'm not sure, but I mean, so I mean, I guarantee you they work behind the scenes with each other on certain things, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're looking to do an infrastructure bill. I don't know, but yeah, he's going to take some heat for this for a few seconds. But let's be honest, it's not going to hurt him with us, and he knows that too. Okay,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
like
Exactly.
yeah, now like maybe the what's her name, the stupid
And also
blonde
the tweet that
bimbo.
he made. I've already listened to a few people on that subject. They're like, he said nothing wrong because they took it for how they always take Trump's tweets. They take it for this is what he was trying to say, and I get what he's trying to say, and I agree with that sentiment. So there's nothing wrong with what he said. I just wish he would have worded better because it gives the leftists an opening to say he said something else. But the truth is, they're going to say he said something else no matter what he said. If he says the sky is blue, they'll say that's because there's white clouds in the sky. It's a dog whistle. That.
Right.
So he literally can't say anything without getting that from the left. But yeah, Tim Pool definitely engaged in that today. He was doing that thing that leftists do where they take words too literally and too anally. And I was ticked.
Yeah.
Like, man, I thought you were smarter than that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I didn't
So,
watch that because I would have thrown up all over it myself. But and that's the thing about some of these guys with these sites, like they don't put their
yeah, you
email
don't
ad.
need to see it. I think I
Well,
described it enough, and you've got enough things to do.
yeah. Well, the thing always bothers me with these guys' sites is that a lot of times they don't put their email address in there, so you can't even email them. They want you to like send something to them on Twitter or whatever. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I wish they put their
Mhm,
email.
mhm.
I wish they put their email addresses in there so you could actually talk to them and stuff, but they won't do that. But hey, I'll let you know, like, like how I do like the zombie ahead of time when somebody calls in, and that's kind of like not
Mhm.
really, well, anyway, I figured out how to do it where I actually have a audio and video delay. So I can take any call, and then if I have to, I can zap it out for
Okay.
an undisclosed number of seconds,
Oh, okay.
and then bring it
Gotcha.
on back. So that's what I did when you
So
were on
you
the
won't
phone.
lose any of the call.
Right. I
You
don't
don't lose
like.
any of the call. You just delay. Okay. Cool.
Right. That's only if somebody
You're
says
getting to
something
be really an
stupid.
expert.
Yeah, it took me. It was funny. I've been reading up on it over and over again and looking at different things and stuff. And then finally, well, you know how that works. And then finally, I was sitting there
Yep.
and I'm like, hey. I mean, I wasn't even at the computer. I was just sitting like watching TV. And I'm like, hey, I wonder if. And then I quick ran downstairs. Do 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 do
Yeah.
do 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 do. Turned all the computers on. Started and just playing with it and everything.
Yeah, it's weird that you put your mind on something else and then it pops. I was trying to explain that to Tony Patriot. Actually, I'm doing a graphic for him too, and you know who that is, right? I can't
Yeah. Oh yeah.
remember
Yeah.
if. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
been in
No.
your channel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
you
been
know
here.
him.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. I was trying to explain to him that I am working on his graphic, but it's like that is in the back part of my brain while I'm doing things with the front part of my brain. And then suddenly it's like cha-ching, like toast, and it pops up and it's done. And
Right.
I go, oh, okay, that's how I'll do it.
Yeah.
I kind of, throw the ingredients, and no, it's more like a crock pot. I throw the ingredients, and I kind of want to do something like this for him, maybe this element, and I'll be completely working on something, particularly something analytical, and cha-ching, the crock pot turns off. It's like, oh, it's
Right.
done. There it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's the back and the front part, but that's just how it feels. That's all I can explain.
Yeah, no, I like when that happens. Like, I've been thinking about this one problem, and I went to the office this morning, and I was going to work on something else, and I looked down at this one piece of paper on this one thing I've been trying to figure out, on this brief I was going to write, and I looked down, and all of a sudden, something just clicked. I'm like, oh, that's it. And I was
Yeah.
able to sit. Then I was able to sit there and just extrapolate from that, and just keep going. And I'm like, yay! And I'm like, oh, that was nice.
Yeah. Suddenly it's like right in front of you, and you're like, well, it was here the whole time, but I just didn't. Yeah.
Right.
So that literally happened to me yesterday too.
It
I
was
was trying to find a
it,
file, and it just was there, but I didn't see it. I went back over. I really reset my work like 4 times in a row. I was getting more and more tired and get one of those headaches from staring at a screen that I didn't even like looking at in the first place, much less for hours. And then I was like, damn it, I know it's here. I know I saw it in the, never mind. The point is,
right.
it was there. I just had to do a visual search because, um, how can I put this? Encryption.
Oh
So
wait, hold on. Great
anyway, the
dirtbag,
point is,
great dirtbag, going to bed.
yeah.
So good night, great dirtbag.
Good night, Debbie. Oh, I was gonna say one other thing that he might relate to, but maybe I guess he's gonna leave us. But anyway, yeah. And then suddenly, like the fourth time, it was just like, oh, it was right in front of me the whole time, but I didn't see it. In directory, I know I passed through at least 4 times. So that's freaking how it is with the brain. I'm getting older, and I need more caffeine, I think. So DB was mentioning DuckDuckGo and Google, and that's the other thing that ticked me off. I was listening to somebody, I can't remember, probably one of the YouTubers you watch, but I don't remember which one, who mentioned Googling themselves. And I thought,
Oh,
I haven't Googled myself in a while.
Mark Dice. Mark Dice.
Was it Mark Dice?
Well, Mark Dice mentioned it.
Somebody
Yeah.
had recently.
Well, Mark Dice, yeah, either did a search on YouTube or a search on Google for it, and he put what he does is he puts the name of the exact title word for word in his search, and
Yeah.
then like he's like the fourth
Right.
page down behind like people with like 50 views, and by the time he's pulling up stuff from like a year ago with like 2 million views on it, and then he's on page 4 of the search results. And he's like,
Right.
"Look up,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I was like, well, I'm, not important, but I Googled my Effie Loves America, and I DuckDuckGo'd it. When I went to DuckDuckGo, um, two of my social media, YouTube and one of my shops, came right up first and second results. Underneath their ads, of course, but first and second in search results. When I did it on Google,
really,
I was
yours?
not there at all.
Oh,
Not
really? Oh, on DuckDuckGo you were there, but on Google you were not.
on Google, I did not exist.
Wow.
On DuckDuckGo, on the first and second search results.
Huh.
Two of my social media sites. Yeah. Well, I mean, one's a shop, but two of my websites. Yeah. So what the heck? Because
Yeah.
I have been depersoned by Google, and I'm not even that important. I'm not, as far as,
Right.
I mean, obviously my
You know,
keywords,
it, well,
in things are going to be things they don't like patriotism and stuff they
well,
hate, like that. So,
well, the only time I would Google my name, I just want to see where I showed up, like for like attorney, on the search engine, Pahrump
yeah.
attorney,
But this was my business stuff. Effie Loves America. That's what I looked up. My
Oh,
business stuff.
right. That's what I'm saying. So,
And I don't exist on Google. I exist on DuckDuckGo, first and second.
and you
Yeah.
obviously have a
Crazy.
Google account, right? So,
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So that's
I
weird.
have I have Google stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was part of that. I was part of that. I was part of that. I think we talked about this. I was part of that paid advertising thing that costs you like a small fortune by the time you get done
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Google
Yeah.
adverts. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, it's fucking expensive. But yeah,
Yes,
I
they
mean,
panic.
oh, it's
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, did you see the scandal on that on the story that people were like they'd sign you up or some shit, and then they say if you don't give us this much money, we're gonna put you like at the bottom of the search results, or we'll do this or something. Somehow they hacked into Google or something like
Oh
that.
wow! Now they're.
Yeah, and there were
Oh
some
wow! I don't know.
countries.
I didn't hear
Yeah,
that. No, that's a pretty good scam.
yeah, countries from Southeast, some people like from Southeast Asia or something were getting into it and were able
Hmm.
to say, well, okay, we're going to put you like, you'll never get any more business. We'll put you on page 4 of the search results or whatever, unless you pay us, $10,000 or something. And they were doing it, and they
Hmm.
reported, yeah, they
So
got
they
it
got into
somehow.
not to Google search, but they got into their customer list
I
somehow.
guess I don't know. I can't remember. I read the story a long time ago, but it was well, not that long. It was like a month ago. But yeah, I
Or
read
they
the
just
story.
phishing? Were they just phishing and assuming people were on Google? Because
No,
that's the primary way they get victims.
well they were actually able to somehow push people off the top search results.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
that
so
I did not hear.
yeah, they got
That's
in they got
that's
in
a
there.
pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, they got in there somehow. They were making a small fortune.
Wow. So Google blackmail.
Yeah,
That's pretty amazing.
I know. It's pretty scary too. It's like pay us 10,000 and
I
nobody.
say stay away from computers, Carl. They're bad.
They're
Bad things
evil.
happen.
They're evil.
Mm,
Did you
yeah.
see this story? Democrats withhold support for minority judges nominated by Trump.
Yes, I saw that. I was thinking about our conversation a couple days ago about the fact that Trump has only really on track to be at about dead even with Obama's appointees as far as judges, even though the popular myth has been that he's been placing so very, very many.
Right.
So I was wondering if they're claiming because he's been placing too many that they want to put the brakes on it. If they're playing into that mythology for the excuse of trying to obstruct him, not that they need an excuse to obstruct him, but if they're using it as a talking point.
Yeah. They are. I mean, this specific story was addressing, like, this is the story. This specific story was addressing the fact that, like, diversity only exists for as long as you are on the same side we are, because like they weren't voting for, like, this guy was Indian. He was nominated, I think, by Bush or Obama, and been a great judge. ABA came out and said, like, voted unanimously that he was a great judge, and Democrats wouldn't support him because it was wrong politics. But so it's diversity is only good as long as you also are a leftist. If you're
Right.
a different origin, different ethnicity, If you're not a leftist, well, we don't like you.
Yeah, because they're hypocrites, you know.
Yeah,
And double standards are twice as good as regular ones.
that's why they call double standards. Exactly. There you go.
That's right.
So,
Because more is better.
well, anyway, young lady, I'm going to let you go. I want to thank you for the great phone call and calling in.
No problem. No
Eh,
problem. I'm glad I didn't get any more zombies because
No,
I tried to contain myself so I wouldn't get.
well, I did want to test it. I did want to test it out, and then I figured you'd be the perfect
No
person to test
problem.
it out. Well, yeah, well, especially since I put your zombie ad up. So now, okay, let me ask you a question. That was your
Yeah.
work, right? That wasn't a competitor's work. Because see, last time
Right.
I clicked on the link in the chat that you had, next to your name. And, said, oh,
Yeah.
so I just clicked on
Okay.
that link you gave that was there. I didn't go find this guy and say, hey, watch this. I'm going to screw Effie and put a competitor's thing up. So I just clicked on your link, and that's
I
that's what
know.
and that's what came up. So I want to make sure that this was actually
Yeah.
your work, your site, right?
Well, I didn't see what you put up, but if it said train hard, zombies get the slow ones. That was mine.
Yeah, I like that one. That was really good.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That just popped into my head. I don't know how it happened, but it must be because zombies were on my brain for some reason.
Works for
Don't know
me.
why.
All right, young lady. Anyway, have a great night, and I will talk to you next time I talk
Good
to you.
night.
I'll see you in the chat.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye. And that was a great Effie Loves America, also known as Effie Real. Again, another great phone call, another great conversation, and the story I had up here just earlier, and I'll pull this one back up. Let me see if I can get to it. There we go. So it's one of those great stories where Democrats are in favor of diversity as long as you're also a leftist. If you're not a leftist, well, they don't care where you're from, what country you are, what race or the ethnicity you are. You're just a bad person. So anyway, let's go and take a look at this real quick. I found this very hypocritical, of course. Anyway, Democrats withhold support for minority judges nominated by Trump. Amul, this is by Alex Sawyer of the Washington Times. Amul Thapar broke new ground when he became the first federal judge of South Asian descent in 2007, and over the next decade, he built a record as a well respected jurist. When President Trump nominated Judge Thapar, I'm assuming, to a seat on a federal appeals court, the American Bar Association unanimously graded him well qualified. Yet when the son of Indian immigrants came up for a vote on the Senate floor, not a single Democrat backed him. The process played out the same way for Naomi Rao, a daughter of Indian immigrants whom the ABA rated well qualified, but who was confirmed only on a party line vote, and for Michael Park, a Korean American, and Kenneth Lee, a Korean immigrant. None of them earned a single Democratic vote. It's tough to square that record with Democratic senators' complaints about a lack of racial diversity or female presence on the federal bench, conservative court watchers say. Yeah, no kidding. He's saying, well, you don't have enough diversity on the bench, and yeah, you don't have enough women on the bench, and you try to nominate. Let's see, how many there was. Let's see, Naomi. That's a woman, obviously for sure. So yeah, there's a woman there that didn't get a single Democratic vote. And it goes on to say these are some real standouts. Said Carrie Severino, chief counsel at the Judicial Crisis Network. Democrats are looking at the wrong thing. We are trying to come up with quotas and ratios. Let's look at having great judges, men and women across the spectrum. Exactly. In other words, don't worry about their gender or their ethnicity. Say, okay, is this a great judge? Now, obviously, Republicans are looking for judges who lean, Republican, and Democrats are looking for judges who lean Democrats. Again, as we always say, elections matter. You get a Democratic president, and he's allowed to choose Democratic leaning judges. You get a Republican president, he's allowed to, pick Republican leaning judges. That's what happens. And ethnicity and gender shouldn't matter. And then when the Republicans do offer, diversity regarding ethnicity or gender to wit women and people from like Southeast Asia or South Asia, Democrats say no, we're not going to vote on them. We're not going to vote yes, rather. Democrats have reasons for their opposition in each case. Judge Rao, who replaced Justice Brett Kavanaugh on the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, was dinged for past writings on date rape. Democrats said Judge Thapar was reversed too often by higher courts on criminal and campaign finance cases. Judge Park drew complaints for the clients he had as a lawyer. God, go figure that one. Who backed the inclusion of a citizenship question on the 2020 census and challenged college affirmative action programs. Marge Baker, executive vice president of Liberal People for the American Way, said it comes down to the nominees' records, whether they can be whether they can be fair-minded jurists. Also comes down to ideology, Ms. Baker said. One common theme in Democrats' opposition is that the nominees were part of the Federalist Society, an organization of conservative and libertarian-leaning lawyers and scholars. That was a big factor for Senator Mazi Hirono. Now, she's one of the dumbest people in the Senate, just to let you know, a Hawaii Democrat who, while demanding diversity on the bench, has found little to like in the picks Mr. Trump has offered. Many of them, regardless of the sex, age, or background, have written all kinds of articles or made their positions very clear on choice. LGBTQ rights, she said. They share some common traits, large common factors. Membership in the Federalist Society, which is a very conservative right-wing organization. Well, the Federalist is not right-wing. It makes it sound like some nutcase organization. There's a lot of intelligent people are in the Federalist Society. H.A. Goodman writes and gets published in the Federalist Society, as a matter of fact. Mr. Rono, a member of the Judiciary Committee, has supported 54% of Mr. Trump's female and minority judicial nominees. Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, another committee member and a backer of judicial diversity, has supported even fewer of Mr. Trump's female and minority nominees. Same goes for Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer, a New York Democrat and a former member of the committee. Neither man's office returned a request for comment. Mr. Trump does lag behind his predecessors in diversifying the bench. In his first 2.5 years in office, the president won confirmation of 9 Asian American judges, 5 Hispanic judges, and 3 black judges out of a total of 123 or 14%. Of his nominees, 22% are women. Obama, meanwhile, confirmed 38 women to the federal bench during the same period of his term. As far as race, he appointed 19 blacks, 10 Hispanics, and 7 Asians. Well, let's see. Well, 3 blacks and 19, 5 to 10. Well, I guess if we're doing a hand count, I guess Obama wins. And most of his judges, well, they haven't really written some very good decisions, let's put it that way. Carl Tobias, a law professor at the University of Richmond, said President Carter in the 1970s led the way in diversifying the bench, and that President Clinton and Mr. Obama expanded it in terms of race and sexual orientation. Mr. Trump has not had any LGBTQ, you always have to say that out word by word, letter by letter, LGBTQ judicial nominees confirmed. Was he going to go find some gay guy and say, "Hey, are you gay?" The judge would be like, "Well, what judge that walks up to walks up to a gay-looking guy, a judge, right? He looks gay, but he's not sure." And Trump walks up to him and says, "Hey, hey, I heard you're a really good judge." And he goes, "Oh, well, thanks." And he goes, he looks at the judge. He goes, and he's in a room by himself too. He goes, "Hey, are you gay?" And the judge is like, "Well, what the shit? Are you like cruising for a piece of ass or something? What are you doing?" And he goes, "No, I just need to find a gay judge." And the judge would be like, "Well, shit." It's like, damn, Like I've always said, Buttigieg is really not gay. Is that he's a white guy and he's a leftist. He knows if he's a white guy, he's a leftist, he has to run to be president, he has to run the Democratic Party. Well, a white guy is not going to get the nomination, right? He's just a white guy, and he's born in privilege. Both his parents were university professors. One, his father was born in Malta or whatever. They have money. They have, they're really well off. Let's put it that way. So he knows he's not going to win. So he says, well, he can't change his skin color. Well, I guess maybe. He really can't change his ethnicity. No. Well, he can just say, well, I'm gay. And then he finds some friend of his he knew. He's like, "Look, man, I need you to pretend that you and I are gay and we're in love and we'll get married." It's like, "What do you want to do that for?" It's like, "Well, that way I can run for president." He's like, "Well, okay, let's do it." So I always think they're not really gay at all, or something like that, So, but yeah, this story is it's just you want diversity, but as long as they're not conservatives, then we want diversity. If they're conservatives, well, screw diversity. We don't we don't care about your diversity. Let me see. There was another story I wanted to cover. Let me just check it out here. Okay. And the call-in number is area code 775-273-8970. So if anyone wants to call in, there's the number. Or if you want to appear by vMix video call, you can also do that. Just put in the chat, hey, I want to appear by vMix video call and send me an email to the email address that you see on the top left. All right, let's see here. What else? Oh, here we go. I knew I wanted to cover this one. My favorite, my favorite British ambassador. Definitely got to cover this story. It shows you how stupid this guy actually was, and I put this in the description, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. All right. British ambassador who resigned called Christopher Steele absolutely legit in the leaked cables. So this idiot, even though nobody in the world believes that Steele is legit, that what he wrote in that dossier was legit, somehow this idiot wrote when he was going through all this, oh yeah, this is real. Even though this has been totally debunked by the Mueller team. And trust me, if the Mueller team could have found anything true in that dossier, anything whatsoever true in that dossier, they would have been like, "Yep, that's true. Yep, that's true." Every major part of that dossier was debunked by Mueller and Weissman and all those guys. And trust me, those guys would have loved anything to be true. They were looking, please let this be true. Please let anything be true. Nothing was true. And this idiot at the time was writing back to England, "Hey, this Steele thing is legit, man. This is real, and Trump may actually be a Russian agent." Shows you how smart he is. And when Trump actually called him wacky, Trump was right on point. I mean, anybody in the know, including Clapper and Comey and Brennan and friends and everybody else. Uh, McCabe, all those guys, Struck, they all knew this was bullshit, but they just were just using it. I mean, all those guys knew this was bullshit. I mean, they all knew there was no collusion. They knew Trump wasn't a Russian agent. I mean, they made all this shit up. And you got to remember, like how this thing, going back to how this thing started, right? This is counterintel. So Misford talks to Papadopoulos, right? Misford, an Italian agent, who Mueller said was like a Russian asset. The Italians had to come out publicly and say, "No, man, he's one of us. He lives in a villa in Rome and runs a spy school for us, and he trains a lot of your guys from the United States. He's definitely not. If he was a Russian asset, he's the best double agent in the world because nobody knew about it. And he lives in these nice, beautiful hills that we pay for, and he gets to live there for free." So anyway, and the Italian prime minister ended up firing their two top intelligence guys over that whole mess when he found out that Italian agents were used to spy on the Trump campaign during the election. He was pissed. But anyway, so Mifflin meets with Papadopoulos like in March or April of 2016, and while he's meeting with him under the pretext of who knows what, like, oh, I'm gonna help you out with some foreign policy shit. I don't know. While he's meeting with him, he says, "Hey, I know some people who know some people who have some who hacked into and got the Clinton emails, and you're working with the Trump campaign now. Do they want them? Do you want these Hillary Clinton emails that we got? My Russian friends have them. I work with the Russians. I'm a Russian. I'm a Russian agent. Whatever the fuck." And Papadopoulos was like, "What the shit?" He's like, "Man, they were supposed to be talking about something else, and ended up getting to that topic." And Papadopoulos thought it was crazy. Well, he thought it was so crazy he didn't tell anybody for a few months, and not until July when he met with Downer, who was then So they bring Misford in. Misford gives him this bullshit story about the Russians have the Hillary Clinton emails, right? So then they set it up where he then meets with Downer. Now this is all done overseas, it's not done in the United States. So the CIA is farming out their intelligence gathering to outside agencies, to wit the Australians, the Italians, and the British. So they're doing it offshore. That's where you get the FISA 702 warrants come in. They can also record people overseas, not inside the United States proper. So they plant this stupid story in Papadopoulos' head. Then they send in Downer from Australian intelligence, and they talk to him, and somehow the conversation gets on Misford or Hillary Clinton, whatever, and maybe Papadopoulos never even said it. Papadopoulos said, "Hey, look, I was pretty drunk that night, and I was talking to this guy. We were at a bar, just bullshitting, and it came up, and then supposedly, assume Papadopoulos says it. Assume that he says, 'Hey, the Russians hacked the Clinton emails, and they're trying to, sell them over to me to the Trump campaign.'" And he's like, "Don't you think that's pretty fucking crazy?" And Downer goes, "Yeah, I would never imagine that." Well, Downer knew because Downer was the second guy in, right? So then Downer goes back to the FBI and says, hey, man, he just told me that the Russians are shopping some emails. He's trying to sell them to Trump. Well, of course, Strzok knew that. Strzok set this whole thing up. Peter Strzok was one of the top counterintelligence guys in the world, okay? In the world. One of the top guys in the world at counterintel. And it's all misdirection, undirection, look this way direction. You don't know what direction they're going in. If you think you know what they're doing, you're wrong. I was just watching last night Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I watched that movie, and that was all about misdirection, everything, you know. And the guy who wrote it used to work in the British intelligence, MI6. I can't remember his name. It just forgot it. Anyway, so then of course Struck goes, oh my God, this is terrible. This guy's trying to buy Hillary Clinton emails. He's working with the Russians. Well, Struck knew he wasn't working with the Russians. That was Strzok's guy, or Clapper's guy, or whoever's guy, Misford, talking to him to put the seed in his head, and then Downer was their guy also to say he said it, and then they say, oh, now we can open a formal investigation. That's in July 31st, I believe, 2016, which the whole thing was set up by them. Okay, it was all bullshit. So, you know, this British ambassador, I guess he wasn't in the loop because everybody else knew it was bullshit. And this guy would think that this story of Trump hiring a couple of hookers in Moscow when he knows he's under surveillance in Moscow, every company that sends their business people over to Russia, and they're going to obviously stay at their hotels, says, look, you're being taped 24/7. So, like, don't do anything stupid and don't say anything stupid. I mean, you got cameras in the room, you got audio for sure in the room. You know, be careful because everything you're doing or saying is being taped. They could use stuff to blackmail with, to extort something from you later. Well, Trump did business in Russia. He's been doing business in Russia for years. He knew that, and yet he's going to go to a hotel, hire a couple of hookers to piss on a bed because Obama slept in the bed. You know, really, and this idiot ambassador believed at the time this was real. Again, the only guy in D.C. who knew anything, thought this was real. So anyway, let's get to this story. So a British ambassador who resigned calls Christopher Steele absolutely legit leaked cable show. This is by Jerry Dunleavy of the Washington Examiner. Okay, let's get that off. The former British ambassador to the United States, who turned in his resignation last week following the release of private communications harshly critical of President Trump, said he believed that dossier author and ex-British spy Christopher Steele was absolutely credible, according to the leaked cables. What an idiot! Sir Kim Darroch, the longtime senior British diplomat who had served as their representative in Washington D.C. since since January 2016, is said to have vouched for the credibility of Christopher Steele. The author of an explosive dossier of claims about Donald Trump's ties to Russia. In conversation with at least one U.S. official, according to a new article by the Sunday Telegraph, which has reviewed the documents. Idiot. Okay? Idiot. The British newspaper reported, asked whether Mr. Steele, a former MI6 officer, was legit. Sir Kim replied, absolutely. Absolutely positively. Absolutely. The leaked cables from Darroch covered a broad range of topics beyond just Steele, but it was his critiques of Trump that garnered the most attention and cost him his job. We don't really believe this administration is going to become substantially more normal, less dysfunctional, less unpredictable, less faction-driven, less diplomatically clumsy and inept, Darroch wrote. The new piece from the Sunday Times on Steele backs up previous reporting on Darroch. An article by the New Yorker in 2018 claimed that as word of the dossier began to spread through Washington back in 2016, a former State Department official recalled a social gathering where he danced around the subject with the British ambassador, Sir Kim Darroch. After exchanging cryptic hints to make sure they were both in the know, he asked the ambassador, is this guy Steele legit? The ambassador replied, absolutely. Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz and his team have been looking into whether the FBI and the Justice Department abused the FISA process when they filed 4 application renewals beginning in October 2016 to surveil Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. The application relied heavily on the unverified dossier compiled by Steele, who was hired by opposite research firm Fusion GPS, which itself was hired by Mark Elias of the Perkins Coie law firm, which was hired by the Clinton presidential campaign. 4 levels of separation, 5 if you count the Russians from Hillary Clinton herself. Up, no campaign finance violation. No, Hillary. No, I can't do. H.A. Goodman does the best Bill Clinton. I can't do it. If you ever watch H.A. Goodman, he does the best Bill Clinton there is. He really does. And I can't do it. But anyway, let's see. A letter from. Hold on. There we go. hmm There we go. A letter from Horowitz to Congress last month revealed the Justice Department watchdog had received and reviewed over 1 million records, has conducted over 100 interviews. Boy, this guy's been busy, including current and former Justice Department and FBI personnel during its inquiry into the alleged abuse of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. One of the interviews that Horowitz's team conducted was of Steele himself, who investigators interviewed in London for hours last month and whose new information may have extended the Justice Department Inspector General inquiry even further. Attorney General William Barr had originally predicted that Horowitz would be finished in May or June. Horowitz has reportedly been homing in on Steele for many months. Republicans in Congress have long cast doubt on the credibility of Steele's dossier. Where is it here? Steele's dossier, but they are not the only ones. Watergate journalist Bob Woodward has been calling it garbage for more than 2 years. Oh, I didn't know that. And former CIA Moscow station chief Daniel Hoffman told the Washington Examiner that I called what bullshit the dossier was a year and a half ago. It's likely FSB, the successor agency to the KGB disinformation. Yeah, see that. I mean, look, that's what I said also. Okay, I don't want to say, oh, me too. But anyway, that's what I said also. I said, look, nothing leaves Moscow, nothing leaves Russia regarding intelligence without Vladimir Putin's blessing. So the idea that Steele somehow magically was able to go over to Moscow, meet with a couple of Russian intelligence agents who didn't, of course, don't want to get killed, and said, "Hey, man, just don't tell anybody. But I got some information you might want to, like. I know you're looking for some shit on Trump. I got some good shit." Without Vladimir Putin's blessing, okay, this was all disinformation. What Putin was doing was, he was just trying to fuck with our election. He didn't have a winner, like he said. He didn't think Trump was going to win. And you know what? And nobody. He was right. Nobody. I didn't think he was going to win either. I remember being very depressed before I started seeing the results that Tuesday, the night of the election. I was down picking up some suits down in Las Vegas, and I was talking like to the only Republican in all of Clark County, I guess. And we were watching the was it the exit polling for North Carolina, and that's the one we see Hillary Clinton hugging Bill and her really overweight, I'll just say it, fat daughter. Like this woman, yeah, she needs to go on a diet. But anyway, so he's hugging her daughter Chelsea, and they're all hugging and stuff because the exit polling had come from North Carolina, showing her she was going to take North Carolina, which means it was going to be a Clinton victory that night. If Trump didn't take North Carolina, he had to run the tables. In North Carolina, he had to take. So anyway, I remember seeing that. I'm like, I remember, when I drove home, I hooked up Google Play and I listened to music, downloaded music. I didn't even listen to the news or anything. I just listened to music, kind of clear my head. I got home, and just kind of got everything ready in the house, and decided, oh, I'll sit down, turn on the TV. And then I turned the TV on and I started seeing the results coming in. By the time I got home, it was like an hour and a half away. By the time I got home, some of the results were coming in. And I remember when the result for North Carolina came in, I was sitting in my chair, and I literally jumped out of the chair, jumped up in the air as high as I could jump, which, not too high, probably, 50 at the time, 52 at the time. But I remember jumping on my chair like, oh my God, this guy, this guy can actually win. I'm like, shit, But so when Putin says, I didn't think he'd win, he was telling the truth. All he was trying to do was just fuck with our election. I mean, he was letting this information go out to Steele to give to Clinton, and that was, and then maybe the odd chance, even if Trump won, then Trump would be under scandal, for months. That would just mess up his administration. If whoever got elected is messed up by scandal and just not considered to be a legitimate president. Like if some of the stuff he was doing with Clinton, the Facebook ads would have hurt Clinton, some of the questions they were raising, that would have made it harder for her to focus on going against, Russia. Same thing with Trump. The only thing with Trump though, he can do 20,000 things at once, and he keeps going, no matter what. So he's just trying to fuck with the election and fuck with whoever won. He wasn't picking a side. But I mean, so I always said that, anything that went to Steele was approved by, the FSB, their former KGB, to go out there to the American electorate, knowing, it's just going to fuck with us. But like, again, he didn't pick a side. I'm sure he much rather would have had Clinton in office because, hey, she could be bought. Her husband could be bought. I mean, they got 20% of U.S. Uranium production. They got that from the Clintons already for just giving Bill 500 grand and a few $1 million to the foundation. So I mean, they know she could be bought. So if he needed something from her, he just have to just hire Bill for a speech or two. Who knows? But anyway, Special Counsel Robert Mueller's team reportedly met with Steele twice in September of 2017, and Steele also provided a written statement to the Senate Intelligence Committee in August of 2018. It's funny how kind of Mueller in his report just kind of glosses over the whole Steele thing, barely mentions it. A number of Steele's biggest claims, including the allegations stemming from Kremlin insiders, quote unquote, that Trump lawyer Michael Cohen had met in Prague with Putin, associates, and foreign hackers, were knocked down in Mueller's report. And Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Republican chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, on Sunday promised his own deep dive investigation into the origins of the Trump-Russia investigation. And Trump, right, because how did this whole fucking thing get started? I mean, if you go back and you can write a book about this. These guys are on there saying, well, we don't want this guy to win. Well, what are we going to do? Well, we got to come up with something crazy. And, these are all counterintel guys. These guys are just imagination city. I mean, they can think of all kinds of stupid shit. And they put all this together, this fantasy, and Steele's over there, and the Russians are like, yeah, give him this stupid story, give him this stupid story. And then, of course, I love it what they said when, what's his name, Michael Cohen was in front of the House Committee on Intelligence testifying. Oh, Trump's former lawyer is going to testify. Oh, no. And then one Republican asked him, so have you ever been to Prague? And he goes, no, I've never been to Prague. I've never even been inside the Czech Republic ever, my entire life. I've never been there. And it was like, oh, so that one part of the dossier saying, oh, Trump sent Cohen over to meet with these Russians, it was all bullshit. And most of this wasn't true. Well, just all of it wasn't true, actually. I mean, look at any of the big stories inside that dossier. None of this is true. But anyway, so Graham's going to do a deep dive investigation into the origins of the Trump-Russia investigation. And Trump has empowered Barr with broad discretionary declassification authority, and he just got rid of Dan Coates. We're going to get rid of Dan Coates, ODI, Office of Director of National Intelligence. I think it's ODNI. Yeah. The Director of the Office of National Intelligence. One of those. Anyway, so he's going to get rid of him because I guess, Mr. Establishment Republican dude, asshole, loser, was holding up on turning over the documents to Barr. So Trump's like, well, we'll get rid of this fucker guy. But anyway, he's giving Barr broad declassification authority to get to the bottom of some of these questions, too, with Barr in turn selecting Mr. Asshole. I love this guy, John Durham. Looks like a dick. Has no friends. I mean, the guy has, you can tell by looking at him, the man has no friends. I mean, that's exactly the kind of guy you want on this case. A real dick. Anyway, U.S. Attorney John Durham as his right-hand man in the effort. He said, okay, like Barr's like, I need the biggest dick I can find, U.S. Attorney, the biggest asshole, the guy who hates everybody and nobody likes. Who's that guy? And I'm sure everybody looked around and just, oh, shit, John Durham up in Connecticut. Oh, okay, yeah, let's get him. It's like, okay, no problem. That's pretty good. But anyway, that's all these stories I was going to cover for tonight. So let's get me back here. Boom, 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 boom. So if nobody wants to call in, hold on. We already had the great dirtbag calling in, and we had Zombie Loves America. Effie Loves America calling in as well. Two great phone calls, two great conversations. But I tell you what, if nobody else wants to call in, then I will go ahead and call it a night for tonight. So I just want to thank everybody who's been in the chat, everybody who's been watching, everybody who'll be watching later. As really good news stories tonight, really good news to cover. And so for Carl's Opinion, this is Carl. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see